At XLRI, we focus on a management education framework that is integrative and offers students an opportunity to develop and pursue new ideas at the same time. We constantly evolve our curriculum in line with changing economic and social landscapes. Besides the flagship programs, XLRI has added many new executive and certificate programs over the years to meet the growing demand of various industry sectors. Our virtual interactive learning program and entrepreneurship programs are our two key offerings.
Learning at XLRI is different from the way learning happens elsewhere. One reason is because of the use of cases. We use cases to relate academic concepts with industry application.
Two dimensions that I would talk about: sustainability of our leadership, our journey in our leadership, sustainability of our careers is dependent on ethics and how we live a high ethics, high integrity life. Back in the days, before any of the other institutes started doing it, we had business ethics as a compulsory course. For me, that consonance of my own ethical framework with the institute and now my own ethical framework with my company, that served me immensely. So today when I stand and talk about ethics, it comes from this core of me. And Excel helped frame this and helped give it shape even before I knew what this was all about. And now it's who I am. It's the core of who I am.
Gave me confidence, Excel gave me purpose, and Excel gave me a lot of confidence to try different things. That's a huge set of experiences I had. And that stood me in good stead because I went to become a management trainee in Hindustan Lever, where I could never have been without the Excel ticket, and without having excelled in Excel, I wouldn't have made it to HUL. And I've been with Unilever all 25 years of my career, so clearly the move from Excel to HUL was great for me. I really think that Excel has grown from strength to strength. It's maintained its reputation. There are a number of students who continue to excel year after year and have created a community of very successful professionals in India.
I've gone on to sell disposable diapers to Indians who don't even throw away the wrappers, forget about throwing expensive diapers, selling pizzas to Italians, and now of course selling shoes back in India. Excel is what's taught me the marketing, the consumer insight, all of that. Completely the credit goes to Excel.
Associated with it from 1983 to 85, and it has helped me think about the society a lot more every day of my work and every day of my life.
Excel gave me the experience for 2 years in a community living, and I benefited a lot. I made some of my best friends there. Secondly, it instilled in me the values that XLRI stands for, but above all, integrity. And finally, it gave me the aspiration and ambition, together with the determination that has probably helped me get where I am today. Besides, I have to say that the 2 years in Excel were great fun. All the time we were in Excel, we wanted to graduate and get away. And ever since, we've wanted to reminiscence about the 2 years there. It is a great experience. Fly Excel, fly high.
At XLRI, we focus on a management education framework that is integrative and offers students an opportunity to develop and pursue new ideas at the same time. We constantly evolve our curriculum in line with changing economic and social landscapes. Besides the flagship programs, XLRI has added many new executive and certificate programs over the years to meet the growing demand of various industry sectors. Our virtual interactive learning program and entrepreneurship programs are our two key offerings.
XLRI is different from the way learning happens elsewhere. One reason is because of the use of cases. We use cases to relate academic concepts with industry application.
Two dimensions that I would talk about: sustainability of our leadership, our journey in our leadership, sustainability of our careers is dependent on ethics and how we live a high ethics, high integrity life. Back in the days, before any of the other institutes started doing it, we had business ethics as a compulsory course. For me, that consonance of my own ethical framework with the institute, and now my own ethical framework with my company, that served me immensely. So today when I stand and talk about ethics, it comes from this core of me. And Excel helped frame this and helped give it shape even before I knew what this was all about. And now it's who I am, it's the core of who I am.
Gave me confidence, Excel gave me purpose, and Excel gave me a lot of confidence to try different things. That's a huge set of experiences I had.
Good morning and heartily welcome to one and all present here to Ingenium, the flagship Startup Conclave 2022. With a central theme of accelerating startups to unicorn, we, your hosts, Sarika and I, Srish, are here to take you through today's inaugural ceremony. We have with us Dr. Madnesh Kumar Mishra, former Joint Secretary, Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Culture, Government of India, as our chief guest. I'm sure that we all must be extremely excited for all the amazing conversations we are going to have here today. We have with us Dr. Ashish K. Pani to inaugurate today's event with his welcome address. Ashish K. Pani is the Dean of XLRI Jamshedpur and Professor Information Systems. He is a gold medalist in computer science from IIT Madras and PhD in computer science from IIT Kharagpur. Dr. Pani has published and presented several papers in leading journals and national international conferences. His current areas of interest are social media analytics and cloud, digital transformation strategy, and e-learning. He is a life member of Indian Association of Research in Computing, Computer Society of India, Orissa Mathematical Society, and IEEE Computer Society. He has attended Eureka Project awarded by European Commission in 2011, received IBM Best Faculty Award 2012, Best Paper Award in International Academy of E-Business in Waikiki, Hawaii 2014, JL Batra Best Research Paper Award in AIMS. He has planned, designed, and launched the first virtual interactive learning VIL program for working professionals in management education in India. Under his leadership, XLRI Jamshedpur became the first institute in India to have successfully propelled in the direction of VIL delivery in 2001-2 and has been successful in reaching out to 10,000 plus working executives. Welcome, sir. Over to you.
Good morning to all of you. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by. And that has made all the difference. This was said by Robert Frost. Probably he was referring to the dilemma of an entrepreneur's dream. Dear students, welcome to the Startup Conclave Ingenium, themed is accelerating startup to unicorns. I welcome the chief guest, Mr. Mandesh Kumar Mishra. He will speak in a very important topic, that's startups, its role for Indian economic growth and the future roadmaps. Established 73 years ago, XLRI has been the first standalone B school of India with milestones having been crossed by its alumni across the globe. While XLRI does certainly stand as a globally competitive B school, has surely fired the startup dreams of the 4 unicorns founded by XLRI alumnus. As the world, including our nation, ramps up education systems to create more job provided by the only job seekers, that you must have seen in the new education policy, the government has changed the directions of the education. XLRI has been quietly working in this direction. The first step in this mission is the creation of XSID, which is a Section 8 company, which is XLRI's incubator, that has been set up in the XLRI Jamshedpur campus for the purpose of incubation and entrepreneurship development across the country. This year, we are starting a new program, which is a postgraduate diploma program on entrepreneurship, innovation, and new ventures. We have qualified faculty at XLRI to conduct this program successfully. XLRI has been operating an entrepreneurship development program which has trained 500 entrepreneurs in the Jharkhand since 2010. In principle, Jharkhand state has agreed to have a memorandum of understanding with XLRI to be a consultant in all IT and entrepreneurship related activities in the state. Its campus incubator, XSID, has been instrumental in taking forward the entrepreneur ambitions of several students by incubating over 30 students on campus on new ventures. Entrepreneurship is not about an outcome, not about making a lot of money, as all of us see in watching some reality shows, but is far and far wider than what we think. It is about the journey that tells you who you are and what you can achieve when challenged. It rarely bothered by the material outcome, what you get in the process. One who embarks on this journey of startup is sure to realize the hidden potential that lies deep inside the individual. Startups are truly bring out the best in a person that she or he hardly could realize in a traditional job, which most of you will join. I urge each one of you to keep the flame of entrepreneurship alive and burning so your untapped potential gets wings when you feel ready to take that mighty plunge in your career. Make your society, make your country economically sound and independent. I welcome again to all of you this conclave. I hope the discussions, the experience shared by the experts will be a big value to all the participants. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your wonderful address. Now is the time to introduce our chief guest for the event, Dr. Madnesh Kumar Mishra. He is an officer of Indian Revenue Service, currently the Principal Commissioner Income Tax, Delhi. Before this, he was Joint Secretary Banking in Department of Financial Services, Ministry of Finance, Government of India since 2016. He has also worked as Joint Secretary Culture in the Ministry of Culture, Government of India. He has done FPM in Organizational Behavior, XLRI Jamshedpur, and BTech in Production Engineering. As a research scholar, he has presented 9 papers in seminars on topics related to yoga, samatva, mindfulness, distortion, in sense making, in organization and organizational creativity. He is a trainer in organizational and human behavior from the perspective of Indian scriptures and wisdom. He has also worked as Executive Director of Sports Authority of India in Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports. He was the first Chief Executive Officer of National Dope Testing Lab of Sports Authority of India, founding member of World Anti-Doping Agency representing India at Mondial, member of Regional Film Certification and Censor Board at Hyderabad. He has served on the board of several financial and management institutions. He is also the advisor for Center for Creative Leadership of IMT Hyderabad and advisor happiness for the international organization called Universal Consciousness. I request Madnesh sir to please share his thoughts on the topic startups, its role for Indian economic growth and future roadmap. Over to you, sir. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Pani, and all the dear participants. Good morning to all of you. You must remember that the city where you are sitting now is the first seat of entrepreneurship, where Jamshedji Tata came and the supporting industry came. May not also be knowing that many of the industrial best practices was started by Jamshedji Tata in Jamshedpur, like your Employee Provident Fund, Super Innovation Fund. Those were brought by the Jamshedji Tata in India. Later on, it got converted and now it is universalized. Most of the participants who are students, I think they are born after 90s. So let me take you to some historical perspective, and then you will understand what Dr. Pani was talking about, what the entrepreneurship is, and what the startups gives you to develop your personality and your creativity. You must remember that in all the places you may be learning, you may be hearing that India was Sone ki Chadiya, the bird of the golden feathers. Yes, it was, because people were entrepreneur, people were creative, people were doing their own job, doing their own business, and contributing to the society. Till the Britishers came. Why I'm taking you to the historical perspective so that you will understand. When the Britishers came, they also came as an entrepreneur, and they started opening the factory in the different places by getting the permission from the Mughals. Was like Bengal, Madras, Mumbai, Surat, these were the places. Slowly and slowly, they started getting into the inroads, making inroads into the administrative part of that Mughal, because India is so vast. So they started getting the rights for collecting the revenues. So like that, Bengal was the first place where this revenue collection was given to the Britishers, then followed by the Chennai, followed by the Mumbai and other places. So when their role started becoming bigger, so they started recruiting the people. And mind you, this was the East India Company, which was established in the England, and majority of the shareholders were the member of parliaments. You might, I'm just giving you the example, this historical perspective. Suppose today, member of parliaments float such companies and start doing such business, there'll be a hue and cry in the Indian media. But that was not the case. So all the member of parliamentarians, they were the majority stakeholders in the East India Company. And when the business started, the administrative part started, they have to have the manpower. So they started recruiting the people from England, from the European countries, and they started sending those people. And you must have heard that this become the Indian Civil Services, which we are part of that, unfortunately. Why I say unfortunately? Because the day I have joined, I'm against this. So later on, what has happened, because the manpower bringing from the England was become very costly. So they thought that why not train the Indians, pay less, and let the same work be done by them. So that's how the Macaulay came. You must have heard the Macaulay report came. And if you read the Macaulay report, blood will boil. So what he is writing is that what is the wisdom contained in one Almira of the England is much more than all the wisdom contained in the Indian scriptures. This is the report. If you say, I can share with that one. And they started teaching the people because the work language was the English. So they started teaching the people English, not their mother tongue, so that they become the cheap labor. And slowly, this thing percolated down to each and every level. So the Bengal was the first which started producing the clerks, followed by the Chennai, followed by the Mumbai and Gujarat and all these places. So what changed was the psychology of the people changed. The education becomes the license for getting the job. It becomes the eligibility criteria for getting the job, which is still today it persists. Till the time the present government has started talking about that, don't be a job seeker, be a job giver. So that mentality that all youngsters, all of you have to break it now. So if you see the eligibility criteria of any of the employment, especially the government sector or maybe some private sector also, educational qualification is must. That was not the case. That was not the case beforehand. If you are expert, if you are creative, if you have a knowledge, if you can deliver, you are an entrepreneur, you can contribute to the society and economic growth. So till 1991, when the Indian economy started opening up, this was the phenomena. And why I'm giving this perspective that they will start appreciating that. In the 91, when India was in a very precarious condition economically, our forex reserve were very low. We were in a position, the forex reserve was so low that we can only pay 5 days of our debts. That's all. That time the government changed. And historically, the people talk about that very weak Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha came and he became the Prime Minister of India. And Manmohan Singh became the Finance Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh. So they started opening it up. So what was scuttling the India was the rigid bureaucracy, the license Raj, and the lot of opposition from the industrialist. You might not be knowing that to get a scooter, 2-wheelers, you have to wait 12 years. Bajaj scooter. Suppose in some families, the girl child is born, the father is to book a scooter until the time the marriage will happen. I will give a scooter to the bridegroom. Very few industrialists were there, and there was a big cohorts, very strong cohorts between the politicians, the industrialists, and the bureaucrats. So giving them the license. So every year, Birla was given the license, you will be producing 20,000 cars, that's all. The telephone industries, there was only one telephone industry manufactured by the public sector, highly inefficient, archaic model. Nobody else was allowed to manufacture the telephones. Such was the phenomena. When the Narasimha Rao government started delicensing, the very first budget speech, very clandestinely, he put everything in the budget speech in such a way that people could not decipher what is happening. And in one stroke, he ultimately broke down a majority of the license. He said no more requirement is there. So that's how the industry started growing up. Indian economy opened. The bankers were asked to give the funding to the entrepreneurs. The culture started. The people started becoming the entrepreneurs. Lot many people came in that for the economic growth of the India. That's how we started growing. But still, a lot of issues were still remain to be solved. So the present government came. They said that what remains to be done. There's a lot of talk about the single window system. I think Dr. Pani must have heard that we have a single window system. But to find out where is the single window is lying, you have to go through the 10 windows. Then will you come to know that single window is here. So there was no use of that. Sorry. So in Gujarat, a conclave happened. The CII actually hosted their conclave. And they said what needs to be done in India. So 5 or 6 points came forward. These are the areas where we need to do a lot of work. Education was one of that. Health was one of that. Entrepreneurship was one of that. So when the government changed, President Prime Minister, he took those 5 or 6 themes, and that's what he called, this is my Sankalp. You must have heard the Sankalp se Siddhi Tak. And Atmanirbhar Bharat was one of them. Including that was the entrepreneurship. So these 6 pillars was the Sankalp which the government is working now. And Atmanirbhar Bharat is one pillar where we are a part of that, and you as the startups are a part of that and giving the lot of contribution to the economic growth of the country. So these were the background. Second important aspect, what has happened that when the startup culture is started, well, a lot of support needs to be given. Because I remember in 2017, one meeting took place with the youngsters. I was also a part of that meeting. Youngsters were there, eagerly waiting for license. Some company was manufacturing the drone. He's waiting for 2 years to get a license to fly his drone. Some fintech company, he's trying to get a license from the RBI. And he's there waiting and waiting. So 2 phenomena happened, which has actually given a boost to the entrepreneurship and how the startup is what we are seeing now, what we are trying to discuss now. The first destabilizing factor was the demonetization. People take in a very negative sense, demonetization happens, a lot of disruption happened in the Indian economy. But mind it, because of demonetization, your fintech, what they are today, they are because of that only. Because the urge came, the demand came, the need came, how to go about that, how to see that the money is actually given, money is actually transacted without any physical, what you can say, going physically to the bank. So that point of time, I was actually handling the control of the demonetization. Cash was less, so the currency was less. So what you have to do, you have to digitally transact. In the year of 2016, in entire country, there were only 10 lakhs POS machines. You can remember. So government gave the mandate that by 31st of March, we should have at least 20 lakhs POS machine more. And when we started procuring those POS machine 20 lakhs, there are only 2 manufacturers in the world who produces the POS machine and gives it to the entire world. When we started talking to them, they said, we cannot provide you so much of machines because you have to cater to the world also. Somehow we could manage on 31st March, we had a 30 lakh POS machine in this country. Then came the UPI. With the digital transaction, we made a lot of changes. Today, you have a 68 billion transaction happens on the UPI. And which is one of the, what you can say, the prototype, or which is one of the successful, what you can say, the fintech program that provides a lot of what is support to the financial transaction. A lot many fintech companies has come adopting the UPI base, and they are giving the services. Second came the COVID. It was another disruptor because the schools were closed, the shops were closed, everything was closed. So how to give the education to the children? So EduTech came in a big way. How to deliver the goods? So e-commerce came in a big way. How to purchase the foods? So like all your Zomato and everything started growing bigger and bigger and bigger. So what I'm telling is this thing is that because these are some of the disruptors which has actually given a lot of boost or say energy to the startup ecosystem, and many of the youngsters are coming. Still, I find lot many youngsters, at least 2 or 3 people will ask me, can you tell me about this particular issue, sir? In the fintech industries, somebody will come in the health sector. So what I need to do? So the bandwidth is huge, the canvas is huge, the artists are also a large number now, which I see today. Young people, after taking the degree, they are not searching for a job. What used to be there in our case, when we passed out from the engineering, we used to search for the jobs. Today, majority of the youngsters, they start thinking that, no, I should create my own company, start my own company, and instead of being a job seeker, being a job creator. That's how the things have started. I'm very happy that XLRI has taken that initiative to organize this conclave. And I urge that every year this phenomena should happen. And what Dr. Pani was talking about, we will have a new program of entrepreneurship development. I remember, I think there is an entrepreneurship development center also is there, where the Dr. Prabal Sen used to be the head of that, because he is one of very dear professor and very good friend of mine. We keep talking about that. So India is in a very different stage now. We are the world leader, not in a sense that economic power, because America is still huge, but we are in the 3rd position of the unicorn. After US and after China, we are the 3rd producer of the unicorns. Today, 89 unicorns are there and 40 are in pipelines. And government is going to support like anything. Everybody, every ministry, every officer is dedicated towards that. And this is one of the flagship program of the Prime Minister, which he monitors on regular basis. The issue is such that we are celebrating 75th years of the Azadi today. So startup was one of innovation, and startup was one of the subject on which a 5 days celebration was done. And in that, I just read out, because I'm very poor in data, 16th January it happens, because we designed that way. The idea was that what should be done? Once further, ease of doing business was one of the topic. Greater role of technology in innovation, that is one topic. Stakeholders capacity building was one topic. And digital use of digital technology in the startup was another topic. In that conclave, the Prime Minister, the government announced 2 things. The Startup India Seed Fund scheme was announced, and 945 crores were being provided in this budget for that scheme. For 3,600 entrepreneurs to be supported. Fund of a startup was created with the 10,000 crore seed money, which is being actually run by the SIDBI. You must have heard about the SIDBI. And as on today, I just talked to the MD SIDBI, 6,495 crores has already been committed towards the startup, because those people will be getting the money. A lot many such reforms has happened. I'll just introduce those things. The phenomena was that the Prime Minister becomes so impressed. He says 16th of January will be celebrated as a National Startup Day. And on that day, one startup was awarded also. So such is the importance given to the startup. And my dear young friends, let me tell you, I was just going through the data which has been submitted to the Parliament. 46,500 startups has been recognized by the DPIIT. And I'm happy to share that out of that, 46% of the startups where at least one woman is a director. So this is the facts I'm just talking about. The Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, because that is the first flagship program of the Prime Minister for financial inclusion. 56% of the account holders are the women of the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. The pension, Atal Pension Yojana, 55% of the account holders are the women. So such is the phenomena which we are growing. Recently, I am doing a research on the financial inclusion, seeing the data for the last 5 years from 2015 onwards to 2020 with one of the professor of the Boston University. It was amazing to see, we are comparing 4 states, Bihar, like in the east, Gujarat in the west, Haryana in the north, and the Telangana in the south, to see that what is happening. First of all, what we found that the number of deposits, the amount of deposits held in the women account is much more than as compared to the male. And what they are using for the healthcare and for the education. I'm talking about the people who are at the village level. So this is the development. The number of digital transactions done by the women in Bihar are same as the number of digital transactions done by the women in Telangana. But the literacy rate is very, very different. There's a huge gap in that. So fintech has provided that access because it becomes so easy that a village women can also operate and do the transaction. If you go to the third tier cities or maybe some kasbah, even the vegetable vendor, they will find that he has a QR code on his, what you can say, the people call about the bandi, in his shop. People are transacting in a digital mode. It all happens because of these fintech companies, not by the government, not by the banks. Banks they have a different role. While I'm sitting on the board, I always to tell the bankers, so you have to have a technology company, flair of technology company. At the same time, when I was addressing the fintech companies, some of them might be there, I said, you have to have a flavor of banking. Then only the gap will be breached. People are working towards that. And every day I find new phenomena. Every day I find some new development. When I was seeing the data, education sector, the startups are huge in numbers. They occupy the largest number of the spectrum in the entire startup, followed by your e-commerce, followed by the fintech, followed by the health sector. So these are the the pillars on which the Atmanirbhar Bharat has to happen. Today, how many of us go visit the bank? I don't remember. I have visited the bank because we all transact through digitally. And I remember, let me tell you, when I was in my engineering college, I got hold of one book, Short Scientific Stories. It was an edition of 1936. In one of these stories, the writer is talking that one day, the situation that technology will develop so fast, such a way that people will handshake and the money will be transferred. At least today we are shaking the mobiles. And I came to know that some of the companies, they have invented the ring also having a chip, so that if you wear the ring, you can handshake and transfer the money. This has all has happened not because of the very big companies. All has happened, the young entrepreneurs, they are coming forward. They are realizing their potentials that I have my creativity and let me utilize those things. So to seeing those things, the present government, each one of us, we have so much of pressure on us that we to see that all the entrepreneurs, all the people who are coming forward for doing some startup business, they should be duly supported. They should be supported in time, rather before in time. So every day when we are reviewing the progress, that how much has been done, because I was the Joint Secretary Banking, followed by Additional Secretary Banking. So I was the person who was looking after the banking operations, where the payment system comes, ATM comes, everything comes. So we used to tell my team that you don't have to provide the support in time, you have to provide the support before time. Then only the growth will happen. In that sense, what has happened, the government has started changing the mindset of the bureaucrats also, changing the mindset of the administrations also. Prime Minister one day told that how many compliances we have actually burdening to the industry. So it was huge in numbers. Even in the financial sectors only, the compliances burden were roughly around 4,600. So if you are an entrepreneur in the financial sector, maybe an NBFC, maybe a fintech company, 4,600 compliances you have to go through. So the target was fixed that we will reduce the compliances. So we all went on the drawing board with all the regulators, and you know the RBI is a monolith. They move very slow. So I'm happy to share that we could reduce roughly around 4,300 compliances. Those are no use. They are coming from 1935, 1920 onwards. They are no use at all. So they become very happy. Now the RBI has set up a committee to see that the further compliances, how we can reduce it. The insurance regulators, they have reduced 120 compliances. There are only 5 compliances that if you are running an insurance company, like Policy Bazaar also, I think these people are coming. So those are the compliance burden has been reduced. This was one of the targets when this policy of the startup was started in 2016. Compliance burden, actually, when the reduces, the ease of doing actually enhanced, and that's to the ease of living also. So many returns has to be filed, so many statements has to be given, which are of no use. So many archaic laws were there. We could reduce roughly around, if I'll tell you a thing. Yeah. 330 laws were just abolished, which are of no use. They were coming forward since before independence, and we all were burdened. So the government thought the young people should not be burdened with this. 103 offenses were decriminalized. The offenses were such that if you are taking a deposit without intimating to the government, say if you are a company, if you are taking a deposit without intimating to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, you will get punished for a year. What for? So all those things were decriminalized so that ease of living becomes easy, ease of doing becomes easy. 13,000 compliances has been simplified, it all put together. I'm not talking about the financial side, industry side, everything. And all have been digitized. So you don't have to go from pillar to pillar, from this table to that table. Sitting on a desktop, you can comply those things. I would like to just, I think 2 years back, it has been quoted by the Honorable Prime Minister also. When we are going through the budget, because we are part of the budget making. So there was one person, there was to be a CCA, pay to the CCA. And it's a very meager amount. It's to be roughly around something around 1,500 rupees. So we just discussed why this 1,500 rupees is coming as an entry into the entire budget, where we are talking about the billions, not millions. We are talking about the billions. So nobody could understand. So he said, who is actually drawing this 1,500 rupees for the CCA? General sense, CCA means city compensatory allowance, you all talk about. So when he started digging, so these demands come from the government of Chennai. And who is the CCA? CCA is the one person who is paid. He's called Churchill Cigar Assistant. There was one person who was appointed long time back. He used to smell the cigar and select which cigar is good for the church. And still one person was employed for that. And he was paid 130 rupees. So when we dig up those things, so actually when it was presented, the FM presented to the Prime Minister, he laughed. I said, the Churchill has gone, so everybody has gone, why you are putting that entry? So we went to do the exercise of each and every head of this budget, and we could reduce so many entries in that because people are not talking about, people are thinking about, we're just going ahead. So I'm very happy that all the youngsters are contributing a lot, which is creating a different environment in the country altogether. I see a lot of energy in the young people. They are passing it out. I have a daughter also. She one day she told she's into the academics. She teaches the international relations. So I was talking about that. Why don't you have some permanency? Here he said, Dad, what you are thinking that I will be joining a service like you and get retired and get a pension? No, I'll be flowing like a water so that I can get number of experiences and I can contribute to the society in a creative way. So this was eye-opening for me. So as youngsters, what you are bringing to this country, you are bringing to this country the dignity of labor, which was not there. Suppose you are doing your own job, you are doing your own business, people will not give you the value. But today, if you say that, yeah, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm having a startup, people gives you a recognition. Is it not? Am I wrong? No, people gives you a recognition and they see that, yes, there is a person who has a lot of talent and he's contributing to society a lot. That was not the case 20 years back, 30 years back. If you are not in the government service, if you are not into some big public private sectors like Tata or say Bajaj or something, you are nowhere. Today you say that I am a startup, I am into the health sector, I am doing this, people will recognize you, people give a lot of respect and say that yes, here is a young guy, here is a young lady who is contributing on her own, with her own labor, a positive energy to the society. You are also creating a job. I'm just getting the data which has been submitted to the parliament. 4.6 lakh jobs has been created by the startups, small startups, which is not a small number. So when we talk about creating a more and more energy for the startup, we have to think now, because in 2047, we will be celebrating this 100 years of the independence. That's why we have given a lot of importance. The government has given a lot of importance to the startup energy, the startup ecosystem, and the inculcating the sense of entrepreneurship in the youngsters, so that in 2047, when we are there, we are at the top of the world, because we have that capability. If you see the entire world economy, if you see the US, the funds are with the US, but the performers are Indians. Majority of the companies, the performers are Indian. They are not the Americans. They are the Indians. If you go to any other, now you are seeing this Ukraine crisis. Also, number of students are there. We are struggling hard to bring them back. So we have a huge potential. We have a huge talent, which is being tapped by the world. So that's why the government of India thought that if the foreigners are tapping our talent, why not provide the ecosystem in India itself, so that people feel comfortable, people feel creative, and they should provide a lot of inputs to the economic growth of the country, so that we become Atmanirbhar Bharat. Today, many of the youngsters startups are coming in supporting the defense industries. Small number of startups are coming, but they are providing in a big way. Education system has been revolutionized. I can't tell, because and many more things will come. Health sectors are being been actually revolutionized. E-commerce has been revolutionized. Your deep technology has been revolutionized. So each and every area, the young generation are coming forward and they are contributing a lot. At the end, I'll just say 2-3 points. You must have seen the cartoon, or must have seen the animation film, like ants are actually pushing a big piece of wood or big piece of the food, and they actually drag it to their home. So all these startups are like the ants. They have a huge energy, and combining those energies, I am hopeful and I am sure that this a big country like India with so much of population, we will be actually dragging the India in 2047 with a shining color, with a lot of capability, so that we can contribute to the world in a very big way. India is going to be the superpower. We always tell that India is going to be the superpower. India is going to be the superpower, a balancing superpower. As you see today, when the crisis is there, the conflict is there, India has been approached, and our foreign policy has changed in a very significant way. We are actually trying to give the world order a balancing wisdom that you please do that. The very long-standing friend like USSR also, we have told them that this conflict is not good. Try to resolve it in a diplomatic way. Earlier, we used to simply support or don't say anything. But today, we are in a position to say. So that's what the world expects from us. So tomorrow, the world will expect from all of you that what solution is there. And Indians will provide that solution. Here is the solution. One very important aspect, I'm just cautioning, because in the startup business, there is a phenomenon of valuation and getting rid of the startup. So the whole of the phenomena, whole of this situation, not all, but a large number of entrepreneurs are actually in a race for creating the valuation. So that when the value is created of a company, they will offload their shares and they will get rid of. Please don't do that. I know all these startups will not become the giants, but if the startups can combine their energy, they can complement their energy, one big company can come forward which will contribute substantially to the Indian economy. For that purpose, I urge, I don't know that there is some regulatory mechanism for that. Like a microfinance, there is a regulatory mechanism. They have the regulatory mechanism which is called the self-regulation. So a startup should, the body which is responsible for coordinating, they should at least put a framework of self-regulation, which will bring a lot of orderliness in the growth of the startup and contribution of towards the Indian economy. That is very, very important. And a lot of opportunities are still there. Same case of because I'm from the finance, government has changed a lot many things. The trade financing is one of the area where a lot of effort is required, and it can revolutionize the trade financing and the capital requirement of the companies which get stuck, the small companies, that can be revolutionized. For that purpose, government has already changed the Factoring Regulation Act. So all the NBFCs are now allowed to do the bill discounting. They are allowed to do the trade financing, and their number is huge, 9,500. What we require is that some fintech companies, some young generation, somebody should come and apply their mind to see to it that trade financing can come in a big way. And once you innovate in India, the trade financing, nowhere in the world such a trade financing platform is there, let me tell you, because with my research and all those things. So one of the requests I'm putting before this August House is that in the case of the finance, please look into the area of deep trade financing, because the trade financing is the backbone of the micro and small enterprises. And if you can give the solution to those people, it will be a good thing. The second challenge, the pension coverage in India is very, very low. 7% of the working populations are actually covered by the pension. So if the fintech companies can come forward, provide a solution, provide a marketing solution for the pension products, it will be a huge contribution toward the Indian society. Because when the digital transactions started happening, people thought that my money will get lost. But today they have the confidence that yes, I can transact digitally, my money is not getting lost. Similar is the case with the pension, because we have to nudge, and especially I will request the startup in the marketing, because they are very creative people, how to market the pension in the Indian society. Because when we got the survey done by the Ashoka University team, people talk about that, why I should contribute for 20 years to get some money I can enjoy now, because they don't have a concept of the social security, which is very much required. So these are two of the submission which I thought I will put before my young friends. Trade financing is one, and pension coverage is second thing, because once you have a large number of pension coverage, that actually the corpus which is getting generated through the pension coverage are having the nature of the long patience fund. And those funds can be utilized for funding the venture capital. Because as on today, government has already allowed 5% of their investable corpus by the employee provident fund, the pension fund, the insurance fund, to invest in the alternate investment fund, which actually gives funding to the venture capitalists, which gives funding to the startup. So when we are creating such environment, garnering those resources, this will going to actually help the startup only, and we are going to create a big force, big economic force for contributing very substantially to the Indian economy. And we are eagerly waiting any support you require. At a personal level also, my email ID is there. You can just talk to me. You can just pose a question to me. If I'm of some help, I can give you that help. And with these words, I conclude my submissions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable inputs and thoughtful insights. You spoke about how Jamshedpur was the first entrepreneurship hub, and you gave a lot of historical perspectives, how there's a lot of push from job seeker to job creator. You also spoke about the 6 pillars, one of which we have as a Atmanirbhar Bharat. And you spoke about the disruptions, one being the demonetization, which gave a big boost to the fintech, and COVID also, which gave a boost to the e-commerce growth in India. There are a lot of interesting facts which you gave on the reduction of the compliances front from 4,600, about 4,300 has been removed. And also in the last you mentioned about the 2 cautions, which was on the self-regulation framework and the trade financing. I am sure a lot of us would definitely pick up this idea and work upon providing the solutions. We quickly open the floor for the Q&A and request the participants that they raise their hand so that we can unmute them to ask their questions.
Pension was also one of the idea.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yeah, Vipul, you can go ahead.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
My question is, sir, how essential do you feel are the regulation importance to monitor VCs and the performance of startups?
See, the government is of the view that we should have a minimum regulation, because the startups, you have a less resources, more creative ideas. That's how the startup goes, as per my understanding goes. You have a huge reservoir of the creative ideas, but you have a less resources on which you have to start. So government is of the view that regulation should be less and less. Self-regulation is very, very important. With this philosophy, the government is supporting the startup. I'll tell you one thing. Before 2016, if you have to submit certain documents to the government or to the banks, attestation was required. And for that purpose, attestation, as a gazetted officer is required to sign that. And people used to search for the gazetted officer. Okay, I can get my certificate attested. It has been done away with that. He said, you do self-attestation. The government will believe you that this is the true copy. So with that philosophy, that minimum number of regulations should be there. Certain things are required. Like suppose you are going for a fintech company, the payment system, you need to have a license because certain security features needs to be provided there. Because you are dealing with the customers, so certain safeguards needs to be there. But beyond that, government doesn't want that you should be regulated.
Thank you, sir. I have one follow-up question, if I can ask. So
please.
my second question is that, sir, especially if you start some private limited company or so, and if somebody is missing any deadline for filing to ROC, there is huge penalty. Do you think those penalty can be reduced, especially if some startup comes up and they are very busy in their own niche, and they usually see very less to these filings and other things?
I think we had a discussion with my colleague. A lot of things are being digitized now. And what is being aimed by the government is that many of the things should come pre-populated to you so that you do not fill so many lengthy forms. And penalty also, people are thinking about that, why to penalize those people if they are genuinely, if they are not, what you can say, they're deviating from the process. So that issue is also being raised and those are being debated. And hopefully maybe in the near future that solution will come. But Softex, MCA has developed a the platform called Softex, where a lot of things are being digitized. But definitely I'll raise this issue to my colleague. These are things which are raised. How soon you can reduce the penalty or say number on the compliances deadline. But few of the deadlines are important because you are integrated to some other system also. So for that purpose, because one deadline is there, the other places also deadline is there. But government is thinking, for that purpose, committee is already being constituted, thinking on how to minimize, how to integrate the compliance, so that at one place you comply, other ministry, other law is already complied. So that things are on.
Thank you, sir.
So before we move to Bhavya, there's one question in the chat box from Shubro. Can you throw some light on how tier 2 or tier 3 cities where digital literacy is minimal, how fintech startup can play a major role?
I think you can talk to, Subro, if you can interact with the startup who are into the edutech, because during the COVID, even the second 3-tier and second tier city also students were actually participating in their classes through the technology. And now things have changed. Technology has provided them the platform so that they can participate in their learning process. So far as the digital literacy is concerned, I don't think that it is now minimal because everybody has a smartphone now. And I see that even a child of 2 years can handle that. My younger brother who lives in Hyderabad, he has a small son. He said he knows because this school has given certain question on the Google form. So he has completed and he has created his own Google form and put up some quiz to his own colleagues. So I think digital literacy is in a very big way it is coming up, thanks to the startup, because they are providing the information in such a lucid way and easy way that people are self-running now. Today the penetration of the smartphone is the highest in India, is the highest in the world. But still a lot needs to be done, and especially in the fintech, because there are a lot of misappropriation of fund is involved. Digital literacy is being carried out. For that purpose, the education fund also is there with the RBI. The banks are also asked to do the digital literacy. The banking correspondents, the big chunk of banking correspondents, they do the digital literacy, and the phenomena is huge, because that's why I told you in my research, which I am finding that digital transaction done by the female women in the Bihar is same as digital transaction done in the Telangana. But the literacy gap is huge. So I don't think the digital literacy gap is very, very huge in this sense.
I'm sure that must have answered Mr. Shubro. Bhavya, you can go next. Bhavya, you are on.
You can unmute it.
Sorry. Good morning, sir. My question is, I wanted to ask that whether the growth of a startup should be measured by the valuation it generates or the quality of its service and customer base. What, according to you, should be a better way of assessing a startup success?
As I've already submitted, today the startups are in the race of valuation. And I know how the valuation is done. So that's why I have cautioned. Don't go by the valuation, go by the contribution what you are making to the Indian economy, contribution you are making towards the customer. Because if the startup starts going towards the valuation, this is nothing but a what is being played in the share market. See, one of your startups, who is a good friend, now he has become he's going for the IPO. The Ritesh Agarwal, you know about that, OYO. I have inducted him in the MDI's board. So exactly same thing he asked, because the worldwide, the valuation is the game for the startup. What we should adopt? He said, you adopt the customer service, you should adopt, that is the phenomenon. Then only you can become a giant. So I urge to all the startups that go by the customer services, go by the quality of services. That is very important. That's how we'll survive.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
So there's another question from Vishal. Do you think there should be regulation on edtech companies? I think the edtech can truly revolutionize the education system of India and significantly help India in becoming a superpower.
See, in the education, Vishal, see, one of the sectors, two of the sectors which has badly, what you can say, hit by the regulation post-independence, where there has to be a lot of development should have happened. One is the education, and second is the health. This is a fact. We are celebrating 75th year of the independence, and we cannot even produce a one single world-class university in India. It is not there. Because all the educational institutions were so regulated by the UGC or by the AICTE that creativity is lost. I know that the XLRI is facing with the AICTE about the recognition of your FPM program. I had a discussion with the chairman. What is so wrong about that? Is only the words are changed. But no, this are the requirement is there. So new education policy is actually catering to those things. So I don't think lot many regulations is required in the education sector, because once you are delivering the education services to the clients, to the people, certain regulations are already there. What to be shared, how to be shared. Beyond that, I think education itself is something that teaches how to regulate. So I think they can regulate.
Right, sir. So there's a question, Udit, just one sec. There's a question from Narendra Jain. He says, could you please explain how we more emphasis to compliance sector if any fraud is happening in finance or banking sector?
Say, fintech companies, they are mostly into the area of, say, payment system. They are mostly in the area of payment gateways. They are in the area of insurance, like giving the different policy advice, the home loan sector. For that purpose, the act is already there. You have to get a license about that. The Information Technology Act is also provided many safeguards that what to be shared, what not to be shared. Recently, the debate was on like the data, financial transaction data done by the foreign companies, they should be stored in India. So a lot many things has happened, and except MasterCard, everybody agreed for that. Then MasterCard also has agreed. He said, if you are doing the transaction in India, please store the data. RBI is very, very particular about those issues, and they have, in fact, I have told them, if you have to go hand in hand with the fintech companies, you have to modernize yourself, because the people who are actually manning these IT sectors in the RBI are not capable of doing that. So they have also modernized. And every day the things are evolving. And lot many checks and balances has happened. Lot many educations are also being provided to the citizen at large, that please don't share our OTP, don't share this. So those things are taken care of. But still some fraud happens. For that purpose, we have a law, we have a framework, we take a strict action.
Yes, sir. Udit, you can go next.
Thank you, Shirish. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
My question is that with more focus shifting towards ease of doing business across the countries in the world, what and how have the relaxations helped startups to stabilize themselves and also compete with the bigger organization or conglomerates, both at the national and international levels?
See, there is a saying, this is a phenomenon also, the big fish always swallow the small fish. So that is there, and that's what we are seeing also. Like people like Microsoft, like Apple, like you said, so many such big companies, they have swallowed so many companies. But still some of the companies, they have survived because they have their own strength. So if you have a value, if you have a very original idea, and if you have a passion, and if you have a passion not to go for the valuation game, I think a lot of support is already there with from the government side. I told you in 2017 in the meeting, people were waiting for the license. Suppose somebody is manufacturing drones and all those things. Those phenomena has gone now. Now the dedicated task force is there. The regular mechanism of, say, review is there. It is being reviewed at the very highest level. So these are being eased out, and each and every ministry, each and every organization, regulators are working towards that on a regular basis. How to see that these things becomes much better and better. But yes, the social phenomena is like that. Big fish will like to swallow the small fish. But if you are have the strength on your own, you can survive. And second thing which I just wanted, I forgot. If you can create a startup, you can create a common platform where the startup can actually collaborate with each other, because most of your contribution, most of your what you can say the contribution or say efforts towards bringing something will be complementary in nature. Suppose some edutech is doing some business in the area of education. He is also having a common boundary with the health sector. Suppose health education is being provided. So these two startups can come together and create a big one. So some startup body, I think also I'm going to suggest it to Niti Aayog because they do this ideation. Because some startup self-regulatory mechanism should be there so that the startup can come together, 5 or 6, 2 or 3, whatever it is, maybe 10. They said, hey, my effort is also contributing towards you. So they can come together and they can create a big company. That will give a more harmonious development. So that is one phenomenon which I think I'm going to suggest to the Niti Aayog. This type of platform should be created because there will be many things which will be common in nature.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Udit. I think Pani sir has a question.
Dr. On this, it's not a question. It's just a few of the initiatives which is started in XLRI is that one of the bottleneck for the students is that they take a loan of 20-25 lakhs when they join a MBA program anywhere in the country. So the AMI is coming to around 40,000. So when they start a entrepreneur journey, that's the difficulty. That's what institute is taking initiatives to pay back that EMI money so that people will take interest. Also, there is a fund for creative ideas. That's what the alumni can give the seed fund to start this initiative. The third is that mainly B schools are known for the placement. People come join here. That's placement is good. The second line is the content what they learn in this institute. But if you start an initiative, so then we have given an opportunity to the particular student to, if the idea is not working, suppose 2 years his work is not working, he can come back for the placement, which is supported by the institute. There are some small things we started just to initiate that startup culture. That's what I want to just communicate to you.
Dr. Pani, I think regarding the education loan, there is already the 5 years deferment is already given when you take education loan. So till 5 years you may not pay. So if you are passed out and if you are going toward the journey of entrepreneurship, till 5 years you have a moratorium period given. After 5th year only you start paying. I think that is a sufficient time period. Because earlier it was 3 years. I was handling the education loan because so many suggestions came. She said, okay. I was of the view that it should be 7 years. But majority told that 5 years is a sufficient time for any entrepreneur to get developed. So 5-year moratorium is already there. But in the meantime, again, I'll just flag this issue. Suppose some concession can be given, or interest rate is already concession is given.
Yeah.
Government is providing the subsidy on the education loan. That is already being provided. This is not given to the person who has taken loan, but this is given to the bank. By the HRD ministry, there is a scheme and the subsidy is already being provided. If some more relaxation is required, as on today, I think 3 years back, we only reformed those things because when we started coming up. Let us see. Otherwise, we will again, we'll look into that matter. We can flag this issue to the bank. It's not a big issue.
In a lighter note, sir, I am referring to that it's a virtual meet. I will not be able to shake hands with you. So if it's a physical meeting, I would have interested to handshake with you that you said that the money will be transferred. So what are the extra money you have that will be come to XLRI, which will be used as a seed fund for these entrepreneurs?
Yes. Unfortunately, the bureaucrats like us, we don't have enough money. We have a lot of ideas. So idea would have provided. But I again request the my young fellow people, if you need some help, you can, I think, single point of contact. See, my Nupur, she wrote that I'm your SPOC. So I said, what is the SPOC? It's a single point of contact. So she has my email ID. You can tell me the email ID. Any what you get support, what you require, any idea what you are generating, you require, I will love to mentor those things. Absolutely no issue. But few of the area which I just told about that, this has a huge potential. It is such a huge potential that you will be contributing to the society in a very creative way. At the same time, you will be generating a business for your startup business. That is very important.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Pani. So there's one question in the chat from Vikas in the similar line. What is the most convenient way for the startups to get funding? Is it through incubators or self-approaching?
I think you have a different segment of the funding is there. Like you have a angel funding is there, you have venture capital is there, alternate investment fund is there. So these the funding which you have been given to you by these entities, they get funded by the fund of fund, which has some of the funds are actually government has started. I told you 10,000 crore seed money is started for the fund of fund. Banks are also being given permission to invest in the fund of fund. Insurance companies are also given permission to invest in the fund of fund. Certain fund of funds are having international collaboration also. Like recently, I think you must have heard Mohandas Pai. He referred one case, I think Indo-Japanese, some fund of fund is there. Few people are running. So they are getting the fund from the Japanese bank. So his request was some Indian banks should also participate. So that thing has happened. So there is funding is not a issue. A lot of funds are there. Liquidity is not an issue. The issue is that if people should come forward with a creative idea. And the economy, the way it is growing, despite being the COVID, we are sustained ourselves. Our growth is sustained. For that purpose, a lot of hard work has been done, and banks are in a very robust position now. They don't require capital from the government. They are raising their own capital from the market. And they have become very, very robust, being the public sector bank or the private sector bank. So that is one of the plus points. And banks, especially the bigger banks like SBI, Bank of Baroda, Union Bank, Punjab National Bank, they are further trying to ideate that how to support these startups, because they have a huge liquidity with them, and the interest rate going down, they think that they can expand their portfolio, and startups are one of them. They will not be funding you directly, but they will be funding through the fund of fund. But government also has up to 10 lakhs rupees, you can take loan in the Mudra Yojana. Because if you require, because there's no collateral or something, and many of the people have taken the loan. I think roughly around, if I remember now, more than 7 crores people have taken fund from the Mudra Yojana. And some interesting phenomena has come. In fact, I think 3 years back when we had Mudra Yojana, some meeting at the different places with the Prime Minister ordered that each minister should go in their constituency. So the present finance minister, she was actually defense minister. So I went along with her in the Chennai. A lot of Mudra Yojana beneficiaries came. So surprisingly, there was one old lady. She came. She became an entrepreneur. She was a housemaid. So she got a loan of 50,000 rupees in Mudra Yojana. She started manufacturing the masalas. Now she sells in a very big way. Her the company turnover, she floated a company also. Her company turnover is 20 lakhs, 25 lakhs now. So she has taken further loan from the Mudra. So Mudra is another source where if you have to require a loan up to 10 lakhs rupees, you can get that one. And Stand Up India is another one, which is especially for the tribals and the women. Where loan up to 1 crore rupees is being provided with the government guarantee. So the banks do not ask you the guarantee because government will be providing the guarantee to them. So these are some of the sources I just talked about.
Right, sir. Thank you. Ani, you can go ahead with your question.
Yeah. Good morning, sir. Thanks for the wonderful insights. Anilesh this side. I have one question. So it's based on some recent experience also. So I think we are talking about tech startups, right? So what I have observed that technology startups are focusing much on the technology part, right? But when it comes to services, they are lagging behind in the quality of services they are giving. So reason for that, I found that these companies are starting with giving a lot of incentives to their service partners, discounts to the customer, right? But that model is not sustainable in the longer term. So I would like to know your views. How such companies can start up and start with a model which is sustainable in longer term.
See, you need to little diversify, Ani. Yesterday, only one young entrepreneur just talked to me about that. He's into the fintech. He said how to design my product, how to see that delivery happens, how to see that it is profitable. I told him, the person, you see, you are expert in the technology area. You can give a lot of insight and solution to the technology area. You can design a big product. But how to manage the HR, how to manage the service delivery, how to manage that quality is maintained, that is not your forte. And your size is also not big. So again, it opens up the phenomena of having another startup who can provide you these type of services in a piecemeal basis, because you can't hire, you don't have so much of fund. So I think I just saw Pandoro or some company, they have floated the sustainability and they're talking about, but there is a huge phenomena because of some startup can be actually created. They can provide such inputs to you at the minimum cost so that you can use your creativity for the forte which you are actually exporting. So today what we are doing is that because I'm exporting A, but I have to do B, C, D because that is the requirement of the business. But I don't have exporting B, C, D. So that's how people are juggling from here to there. So you have to prioritize. You have to seek help from the others who are expert in that area. And once you become big, you can hire those people. I think I am hopeful to answer that question.
Thank you, sir.
Right. Because you have a question? Because
hello, sir. Vikas here.
Yep.
So nice to have you on this virtual meeting today. I mean, I started up a startup of mine regarding electric vehicle charging, and I've been looking for some guidance, and I think it is the most convenient thing to have you today over here, so that I had questions to ask you and all. So sir, I mean, I've been if you see, most of the talks are happening for electric vehicles and all. And my background has been that I've been into power, and also I was an associate director at PwC, so I know many things. But I have a small thing to see that rather than electric vehicle, I see that vehicles which would be running on liquefied air would be more convenient and conducive for the society. But no research is taking place in that area. Now, suppose if as an entrepreneur, if I have to start off some kind of research into that area, is there some funding that I can get in India? I mean, somewhere, because in US, I understand there are a lot of benefits. A person who's going into some kind of research and something get up to 500% of depreciation benefit from the government. In India, I think it's only 100%. And apart from that, being a salaried person, being an individual, I would like to know how can I get funds for some kind of, I mean, further research to get into these things.
Very valid question, and I have very limited knowledge about that. I don't know whether the CSIR, the body or something like that, they are responsible for doing research. They are looking into that aspect, or the universities also. But yes, if the entrepreneur has to develop certain products and do the research on that, there needs to be a fund. So government has provided certain seed money to the different eminent institutions like Indian Institute of Science. Some of the CSR also have certain funds. But yes, what I say that they also need to get acclimatized, they need to get educated about these type of demands. Yes, some entrepreneur needs to do some research and he is to be supported. So I noted down that thing. So I'll be flagging that again to the Niti Aayog.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Vikas. Sir, I know we are running a little late. If you can take one more question, last.
Please.
There's a question from Rahul Kumar. He says, majority of startups are service-based and are flourishing due to minimum yet sufficient regulation as of now. My question to you is that, can you give some insights about the vision of government in agriculture supply chain management? I hope these regulations should be same and simple throughout the country.
If you have, Rahul, if you have heard the recent talk of the Honorable Prime Minister, he talked a lot about the agriculture sector, and he told that a lot of startups energy has to come to the agriculture sector, be in the line of the production, be in the line of the supply chain, be in the line of the delivery. So Ministry of Agriculture is giving a lot of inputs on that. They are also providing, struggling very hard to provide a framework for that purpose. Because recently in the parliament, one MP has raised the question about the fisheries. They said that government is talking about talking about the blue revolution, about the fisheries, but the startups are not giving the proper support. So if I remember correctly, I just saw the parliament question, because then the government is actually in line with that, and they are trying in a very big way. So that in the agriculture sector, in the horticulture sector, in the animal husbandry sector, the startups are given a big role. Although it is a capital intensive, because supply chain is a very capital intensive industry, you'll not be in a position to carry it out, but you will be in a position to give a solution to how to actually supply or how to mitigate such a situation which the big companies are facing. So that creativity will come, and that has to come from the startups only. So government is aware about those things, and I think in a year or two, because agriculture is one area where a lot of emphasis is being given now. Because during the COVID, if you see, this is the agriculture sector which has a very good growth. Other service sector industries were down, but agriculture was actually flourishing. Because of that, the Indian economy is in a very stable position. So that government has recognized that, and from the very maybe this 2014 onwards, only agriculture was one sector which was being given emphasis. But now the focus is on how to use the startup energy into the area of agriculture. Not only agriculture, horticulture, pisciculture, and all that, and animal husbandry, all that.
Right, sir. Thank you. So just to mention, Smita Mishra, the founder of Fandora, she is also with us in this call, and she has just sent a thank you message for you.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I would love to interact one day, because the idea was very good. So I would just like to hear, because in India, the risk is that because very few people are actually aware about how to mitigate the risk, how to manage the risk. And that is the biggest risk in the country, which I always highlight. Because people are not aware about the risk management. And they say, like, people are not about the insurance. So 5 chilies and 1 lemon is the insurance policy for majority of the people. Because the vehicle, they say that they put some 5 chilies and 5 green chilies and 1 lemon. So similarly, in the case of the risk management, people think that there is a big insurance coverage, that there's a God. That should not happen. And I would love to discuss one day with Panduru about those things.
Sure, sir. It's been an amazing session to start this day. So before we conclude, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Madnesh sir to have given his valuable time this Sunday morning and enlighten us all on the startups, its role for Indian economic growth, and the future roadmap. We look forward to many more such interactions with you, sir, on various topics of interest in near future. We'd also like to thank our sponsor, eRemit Singapore, a digital remittance service platform converging in foreign exchange and international payments. Thank you, audience, for showing your keen interest and participation.
Thank you. Any other thing?
There are a lot of questions, sir, but I think we'll have to send it to you all consolidated list.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
So the next session will start in another 5 minutes, where Anuj and Bhavya will take it forward from here.
At XLRI, we focus on a management education framework that is integrative and offers students an opportunity to develop and pursue new ideas at the same time. We constantly evolve our curriculum in line with changing economic and social landscapes. Besides the flagship programs, XLRI has added many new executive and certificate programs over the years to meet the growing demand of various industry sectors. Our virtual interactive learning program and entrepreneurship programs are our two key offerings.
Learning at XLRI is different from the way learning happens elsewhere. One reason is because of the use of cases. We use cases to relate academic concepts with industry application.
Two dimensions that I would talk about: sustainability of our leadership, our journey in our leadership, sustainability of our careers is dependent on ethics and how we live a high ethics, high integrity life. Back in the days, before any of the other institutes started doing it, we had business ethics as a compulsory course. For me, that consonance of my own ethical framework with the institute and now my own ethical framework with my company, that served me immensely. So today when I stand and talk about ethics, it comes from this core of me. And Excel helped frame this and helped give it shape even before I knew what this was all about. And now it's who I am. It's the core of who I am.
Gave me confidence, Excel gave me purpose, and Excel gave me a lot of confidence to try different things. That's a huge set of experiences I had. And that stood me in good stead because I went to become a management trainee in Hindustan Lever, where I could never have been without the Excel ticket, and without having excelled in Excel, I wouldn't have made it to HUL. And I've been with Unilever all 25
Hello, everyone. Good morning. This is Bhavya Jha and Anuj Nivsarkar, the host and co-host for the session. We have a distinguished guest speaker with us for the session, Mr. Ankit Agarwal. I'll start and introduce Mr. Ankit Agarwal. He's the founder and CEO of Dare to Compete. He's not your typical engineering plus MBA guy. From studying in colleges to getting 100% scholarship from Harvard Business School for a coveted leadership program, the entrepreneur within him was kicking him all this while. It was after working with industry giants like Sapient and Deloitte and improving the education inequity crisis by dedicating 3 years to Teach for India that he finally led that entrepreneur on the loose and set out on a journey to disrupt the education space. But failure never let him down and success never got to his head. His entrepreneurial venture, Dare to Compete, presently serves over 2.4 million users and 30,000 plus companies and colleges across domains, including B schools, engineering colleges, arts and science institutes. Ankit aims to build the world's largest and best community engagement platform for learning, interacting, and hiring through gamification in education and work. Welcome, sir. The floor is all yours.
Thank you so much, Bhavna. Thanks for the lovely introduction. Good morning to everybody. So I would like it to be interactive. So in first maybe 10 or 15 minutes, I'll set the ball rolling and then I'll be opening it up for questions or so. And I'll be happy to answer as many as I could within the time constraint that we have. So I think one thing I personally realize is everybody now is looking at becoming an entrepreneur, especially after Shark Tank. Everybody is in the race of getting to that new idea, getting to that solution, and going out for funding. My view is a bit different. I don't suggest or recommend people to go for entrepreneurship, right? That may happen eventually, right? But I think as students, as professors, or as colleges, our first aim should be to inculcate entrepreneurial mindset, right? How to think like an entrepreneur, how to act like an entrepreneur, because whether you are managing a company or managing a team within an existing company, right? So let's say out of the complete batch as XLRI, right? 90% still will be going and doing jobs as their first go-to after you get your placements, right? So whether you're a manager or whether you are an employee, I think how you will be able to succeed and move forward is primarily based on your entrepreneurial mindset. Okay, and I just want to talk about, and if you Google it, right, and I'm just reading this definition from Google itself. What is entrepreneurial mindset, right? A way of thinking that enables you to overcome challenges, be decisive, and accept responsibility to your outcomes, right? If you basically see this, right, this has three different components. Okay, one is overcome challenges, whatever obstacles you may come up with. You need to overcome them, be decisive with whatever information that you have, and take responsibilities of your outcome. Now tell me, right? In any job you do, no matter what, right? You will have to do all these three. And that's my basic motto, right? And that's what I wanted to basically talk about in this session. And probably our interactive and discussion should be aligned together. And that's why I wanted to set the ball rolling. So let's talk about maybe 3 to 4 pillars of this entrepreneurial mindset, right? And what when I say that we all need to have an entrepreneurial mindset, what do I mean, right? So now extending this definition forward, correct? Now, and trust me, don't treat me or yourself as a CEO or an entrepreneur, right? First thing is that the biggest companies in this world are run not by entrepreneurs, but CEOs who are not founders, right? Take Apple, for an example, Microsoft, Google, right? All these three tech giants, right? All of them, yes, earlier founders were running them, but for last decades or so, now they are being run by professionals whom I think have entrepreneurial mindsets, right? And in your MBA or in your curriculum, I think that's what we all need to crack, how to develop our entrepreneurial mindset. Okay, so the first thing, if I take this definition forward, the first thing will be the decision making capability, right? Now when you're doing your MBA, right, the first thing is that you need to be decisive, right? Now how would you take your decisions, right? As an entrepreneur as well, I need to take decisions, right? I cannot have a gray area. Yaar, ye kar lo, dekh lo jo tumhe karna hai, right? I can't say this to my team or anybody, right? And I can't expect my managers also to say this to their team members, because effectively I'm hiring you to make nice decisions, right? Which are very, very critical for my growth, correct? Now, when you're making decisions, correct? Many a times you may not have complete information. You may not, right? 50% of the times you might be going ahead with only your gut feel. Okay, so let's say you're starting up a new business, even for, let's say, the company that you're working in, or you're launching a new product. You as an entrepreneur, right, initially you may not have the data to back up your decisions, correct? Now when you're taking that decision, the only thing that you have at that point in time is the exposure to different things that you might have done before this board meeting, right? So what I'm trying to say is that let's say if you are basically taking that whether your business should go online or not, hypothetically, correct? And I'm just thinking loud. Let's say whether you are creating a product, whether you should go online with a website or not, right? Now, as you guys, right, who are currently studying, you would have done some case studies on e-commerce or some case studies on things going digital, especially in this COVID region, right? Now, when you are at a point today, when you have to go live online for your product, correct? You can only take decision basis the information that you have, correct? And that information is not actually an Excel sheet that you may have, right? But that information or the knowledge might be basis the cases that you have studied in your MBA or the discussions that you would have had during your case groups. I know many a times you only work for last 2 hours, somebody's presenting, somebody created that PPT, and somebody basically is very good at only putting across the bullet points, right? At least that happened with us. So let's say one person created bullet points, the other person created a dashing PPT, and then the other person was basically in front of the professor sort of projecting, correct? Now, the basic difference, and I've learned it the hard way, very frankly, right? One thing that is very, very critical, and I realized, so I did my MBA from IMT Ghaziabad and then the leadership program from Harvard Business School, right, on scholarship. The basic difference, right? I was following this practice that I just told you, correct? But when I was working at Harvard, right, learning was a completely new game, okay? Because of two reasons. The enriching discussions that we used to have, okay, and the diversified discussions, only because everybody in the group was diversified, right? Not only in terms of their backgrounds, but in terms of their geographies, in terms of their experiences, right? So let's say a group who's discussing about a case which is going online. Imagine I am a North Indian, there was a South Indian, there was a person from, let's say, Europe, there was a person from China, and the fourth person was from US, right? Imagine we are still discussing only one case, right? But all those insights that got onto that particular case discussion from all these guys who are very, very different from each other ensured that at the end of the day, I know that, hey, if I'm looking out for launching a product in terms of e-commerce, right, how it will work in India, how it will work in China, how it will work in Europe, and how it will work in America, right? And very, very small differences. China, as you would all know, is a restrictive audience. You can't go out and just launch any product, right? There are many regulatory approvals. So America, on the other hand, is free, right? I can launch Dare to Compete tomorrow in US, right? The only thing that I'll have to see is that how do I get users and customers, right? But in China itself, I may not be able to launch Dare to Compete tomorrow, correct? Then in Europe, I may not be able to launch Dare to Compete in English, right? Because very few people speak in English, correct? I think those are very, very small things that comes to you when you're discussing things during your B school life. And I think diversity and that enriching discussions in those cases helps us, right? Now, let me go to another example. Let's say I'm not talking about outside of India, right? Now, this is a discussion that we had in one of the cases, wherein one was a Gujarati in our case, right? And the case was on finance. Okay. Now, just one simple insight, and he was from a Gujarati business, correct? We were discussing massively on various aspects that what we should do, what we should not. And then he basically said that, boss, धंधे को चलाने के लिए ना पैसा चाहिए, और पैसा मुझे हर रोज चाहिए, right? What he was trying to say was that, boss, I need working capital to run the business, right? So the basic insight is that pay your vendors as late as possible, get your money from your customers as early as possible, right? If you're able to do this, you effectively don't need your working capital in terms of any loan, right? So one, you're delaying, or you're not getting into that interest cycle, right? Because you're not taking the loan. So from the customer, I get the payment on day one, but the vendor I'm paying on day 30th, right? So I have 30 days of working capital through which I can buy more raw materials, create the product, and sell it off, right? And that's precisely the best thing that Walmart has done, right? Or any big retailer has done, because the customers that purchase, they make payments instantly at the time of purchase, right? But because these are big guys, one, they negotiate heavily in their profit margins from the product that they're getting and the credit cycle, which for them leads up to 60 days, 90 days or so, right? So I think the first thing is that once you get into those discussions, you are able to build your, I mean, gut very, very nicely. Okay. When I say gut decision making, if you don't have the data, it is backed by your experiences. Okay. It's not that Jai Mata Di, select from A versus B, chalo A select kar liya, because that's for me decision making. No, it doesn't work like that, right? So one is that to excel in any field, right, you need to be very, very decisive, no matter what, right? And majorly that is driven either by the data that you have, which will require whatever decision you're taking, at least multiple such decisions have been taken in the past, right? But if it's the first time that this decision itself has been taken, it is basically your gut that decides it, and that is based on what you have experienced in the past, right? So that is the first thing, right? The second thing, and all our B schoolers are very confident about this, is the confidence, right? Kuch bhi pooch lo, right? Whether we know it or not, we need to be confident, right? And I'm sure in your summer placements, final placements, right, the companies are also looking at whether this person can articulate nicely and whether this person is confident or not, right? And don't take me wrong, but not 50%, but let's say 10 or 20% of the questions that the interviewers are also asking, right, they also don't know the answers. There may not be any correct answer, right? So only thing that will basically ensure that you crack that interview is your confidence, correct? And when I say my confidence, so if I have made a bet on something, right, I need to be rational that I don't go overboard. But if I've made a bet on something, right, I need to at least have confidence to back my bet, right? Or to back my decision that I've taken, whether it is decision making or through gut, right? So I think the second biggest thing is sort of the confidence with which you basically tell few others, right? I won't take name, but many entrepreneurs you would see, right? You yourself would know that, hey, this product is nothing. They're not making money or so, but still they're able to sell IPOs. They are able to, let's say, sell other things only because they've done it for a long time, right? They know the confidence, right? They might be forming a habit, and that's why they're launching an IPO or so, right? But confidence goes a very, very long way, right? And the third thing will be taking ownership of your actions, right? Whether it is responsibility or accountability, right? Very frankly, as an entrepreneur or a good manager with entrepreneurial mindset, right? Whatever happens, right? It is your accountability or responsibility. At the end of the day, it is you, right? Whether your team made a mistake or your boss made a mistake, right? Obviously, some person would have made a mistake, right? But if you are the owner of that task, right? For me, it's your accountability, your responsibility, and you need to be up to accept it and move forward. Which comes to me, makes me talk about the fourth point, which is the last. Then I'll open up for questions, which is your, I mean, your attitude or resilience towards overcoming all the challenges and obstacles. Okay, so when I say that, right, if you basically combine all these four things into one, correct? I mean, what I tell my team as well, that shit will happen always, right? You cannot have 100% success rate. All your products, all your services, all your decisions cannot be right? You need to accept it. There will be obstacles which might be challenging, which might be ad hoc as well, right? You might be saying that, hey, we will be able to do 100 million ARR, and then suddenly you realize that one vertical which was to give me 20 million ARR is now giving me zero, right? How do you pivot? How do you make changes, right? You need to move forward no matter what, correct? You need to be positive. You need to be resilient. You need to ensure that you're overcoming challenges, and that's how you sort of move forward, right? I basically tell everybody that no matter what happens in life, right, the only thing that you need to do is go forward. So figure out, you can't be a crying baby, right? You can't cry all the time, right? You need to figure out what makes you happy, whether talking to your boyfriend, family, spouse, whoever, right, makes you happy, listening to a song that makes you happy, right? Or thinking about something makes you happy. I think do that, right? But take your time, maybe 10, 15 minutes or couple of hours, right? But at the end of the day, you'll have to move forward. You'll have to overcome those challenges no matter what. Because if you're not doing it, you will be tagged as failure, correct? And the last thing I think is speed for me. No matter what, whatever, I mean, we always say that in entrepreneurship, right? You try things faster, you fail faster, and you move faster. That's how it happens, right? That's why I think speed is of the essence. No matter what you want to do, right? If you're eyeing a consulting career or an e-commerce career or general management career, I think you need to take step now rather than later, because speed is of the essence in today's market. Yeah, with that, I mean, I thought I just set the stage. I'm open to questions. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much, sir. We do have learned a lot about pillars of entrepreneurship mindset, and then you also put a nice analogy about the regular, I mean, corporate job and the business mindset. So, I mean, that was really beautiful to have an insight about. Moving on, I'll invite everyone to ask their queries. Everybody can raise their hands if they have a query, and so that we'll be able to unmute you. Okay. Aditya, you can go ahead.
Hello, sir. Thank you for your insights. So my question is about, as you said, in startup, the speed is of essence. So we start fast, but there are some times when you have to end fast. So how important is exit strategy basically, how important is exit strategy when you're starting up your entrepreneurial journey? Do we have to consider that at first, or when you're approaching any challenge, do you take that into consideration? What is your take on that?
So, I mean, my personal take is that we should not be thinking about the exit on day one, right? That's not how it should work, correct? But you should be open to make an exit if the situation go that side. Okay, both are very, very different, and let me explain you. So, my first entrepreneurial venture after Deloitte was getadmissions.com, and this is back in 2012. So the idea was very simple. We wanted to get all the colleges and schools on a common platform so that the parents and students, they basically browse through the colleges, they select the colleges that they want to apply for, fill up just one form, okay, and make the payment for all the colleges, and boom, the application goes to all the colleges, right? It sounds wonderful that, hey, all the colleges, no matter nursery admissions, school admissions, B schools, engineering, right? Everything happens on a common platform, okay? Very soon we realized that the non-so premium colleges want to come on the common platform, but the money is not to be made there because of the sheer number of applications, right? And the premier colleges, which get bulk of the application, don't want to come on a common platform because of their premiumness, okay? And that made us think that what should we do, right? So then we pivoted in terms of, we thought that, hey, let's try and discuss with Delhi University, JNU University or so. We were based out of from Delhi, right? And we basically hustled to get discussion from, let's say, VCs of JNU University and Delhi University. We were lucky enough to get those meetings with them, right? And that was the time when they also wanted to go online, okay? Now what happened was that Delhi University wanted to go online and JNU as well, and they worked with us to, because it's a government process. They said that, hey, you guys are wonderful. We want to go online, but we want to follow a tender process. Okay. So now we worked with them to create that tender in terms of the technical aspects that everybody should have, right? It's generic, correct? It's not that we were pushing because we didn't have any other client per se, correct? But they were very open. When the tender opened up, I think 15 companies applied, or 2 were selected for the final meeting or so. And this is JNU, correct? We were one of them, and one other company was there, right? Imagine, and I'm just throwing hypothetical numbers. There was an application form of 500 rupees, correct? Now we thought that, hey, if we are able to charge 5%, we should be able to do something, right? Just 25 rupees out of 500, right? Which is minuscule. We thought that we need to get in, let's charge less, okay? And we were very confident that, hey, everybody else will be charging 10-15% for sure, right? Because everything is going digital, right? There is a payment fees or so that basically does, right? To our surprise, the tender went opened up, right? The other company quoted just 2%, okay? The 2% was actually our expense. If anybody makes a payment through credit card, 1.75 to 2% is an expense altogether, right? How can I quote 2%? Then we realized that that company wasn't a big IT company, okay? That company was essentially a company that used to make OCR sheets. So I'm sure you would have filled up some OCR sheets, right? So that company used to do, let's say, print these OCR. When the student used to answer, they used to scan those OCRs and give them marks, right? They didn't have any background of the IT, right? And then we realized that, hey, in the government where the numbers are bigger, again, we are not sure if the money will be there or not, okay? So, but I didn't think of an exit on day one, right? But yes, after about a year, when we realized that, hey, in this business, either we'll have to take multiple pivots, or there is to be money is to be made in some other way. And I won't take the name of any universities, but one big private university, we were in discussion with their chairman. We were just talking, and he basically said, Ankit, just leave all of this. I mean, I don't need applications. I need students paying my fees for my college. So admit a student and take 75,000 to a lakh for every student that you admit. And we have 5,000 seats. So imagine how much money you will be able to make, even if you're able to give us only 10% of those seats. Nobody else is doing it this market, right? And at that point in time, me and my partner, we thought through very, very nicely. And we thought through that, hey, if we were to do this, right, then we will have to be those consultants who will basically be pushing in students where the margins are higher. If A university is giving me lakh and B university is giving me 2 lakhs, naturally for me, I will push that students to the B university, right? So whether it is ethical or not, but morally we thought that it's not right for us to get into those things, right? So we exited. So I mean, I basically exited, right? However, no paper forms, I'm not sure if you guys know about no paper forms or so or no. Nopaperforms.com also began with Dare to Compete in the same year itself, right? And our model was primarily very, very simple, okay? And same. We didn't work, they also didn't work well, right? In the same line of business. However, after about 3 years, they pivoted, but it took them 3 years to make that pivot, and it's now very, very successful, okay? So when I say that, what they did, they were not only eyeing the application form, right? Again, the whole model of getting all the universities and schools on one common platform didn't work out for them as well, right? But what they did was that every university had to go online. They don't have their IT teams, right? So they created an admission ERP system, not just making your applications digital, right? But making the whole system of getting those applications, from which channel are you getting those applications, shortlisting them, everything down to a point where the admission person can actually say that, hey, this person has been admitted, right? So it's a whole sort of an ERP system that they created, and that worked for them. I exited after a year, correct? They didn't. They showed resilience, and now they are very, very successful, right? So it's I think personal as well, but you don't have to think through your exit on day one. But you should be open to make an exit if things are not working well for you.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir. So I do have one more question. So you talked about facing challenges with some gut, basically gut being the past experience. So can we talk about some of the challenges which you faced in your entrepreneurial journey about dare to compete, and some instances of this gut helping you overcome those challenges?
So I won't talk about gut overcoming challenges, because sometimes that happen by luck as well. I'll just talk about how in certain situations my gut was successful, and I'll also talk about a situation where my gut was a failure. Okay, both, so that you get both the perspectives, right? So one gut was that as soon as so dare to compete, if you see, we are gamifying engagements, okay? And we are basically creating, in my view, an operating system of engagements, okay? When I say an operating system of engagements, so if you were to get registrations, right, you hop on to dare to compete to get registrations. Not only that, you can send emails, you can send certificates, you can do your preliminary rounds on dare to compete as well, right? So that it becomes the default choice, right, for any event organizer to be on dare to compete, correct? And what happens is that gets an ecosystem created. When I say the whole ecosystem, so let's say if XLRI is doing Ingenium on dare to compete, hypothetically, I'm not sure. I hope you guys are taking registrations on dare to compete. But if you get 1,000 registrations, right, most of those registrations would have come from dare to compete. Okay, and I'm not saying it's a real case, just hypothetical numbers, right? So people come on dare to compete to basically get registrations, right? Not to only use a technology platform, which is best in the class, but also to have more registrations from our community, right? Which is engineers, B schoolers and all, right? So out of 1,000, our analysis say that for every competition that we get, right, 90% registrations, those competitions get from the dare to compete community, but the 10% are new user acquisitions for dare to compete as well. Okay, so basically what we are doing is that the more competitions come on dare to compete, more user engagements happen, which is their existing users engaging with those competitions, right? And at the end of the day, we are also expanding by 10% because of all these competitions, right? And this is the best ecosystem organic expansion that we could foresee. Okay, now I'll talk about how we came to this point wherein we could establish that whole ecosystem, right? It all started with a feeling of gut, and this is, I think, 3 years back when we were sitting. So we officially launched Dare to Compete in 2017, right? And at that point in time, it was sort of an exclusive community. We were only doing it for IIMs and IITs, few colleges, right? Only when we realized in 2019 that, hey, who are our real competitors, correct? No data with us, right? The team was sitting and I came up with an idea that, boss, we are competing with Google Form. Okay. And my complete team got bizarre. Ankit, kya bol raha aap? It's a free service. right? And I just said that, hey, boss, we are competing with Google Form and Facebook, both these guys. And I'll give you a reason, right? If a person is not opening registrations on Dare to Compete, they can pretty much open a registration on Google Form and float it. Okay, that's the baseline, correct? And if they're not promoting on Dare to Compete, the general tendency would be to create an FB page. At that point in time, FB was still FB. Now it is not that great, majorly because of Dare to Compete, maybe. But that's a separate discussion. But effectively, when I thought in my mind, right, that they can take registration on Google Form in a matter of 5 minutes and they can start promoting on Facebook, right? We need to club these two and sort of somehow create that stickiness for the end user so that they don't think of anything. Okay, and that worked wonder for us. And that led to the start of creating that whole ecosystem that we have. Okay, so it worked. I mean, I didn't have any data also, right? But when I was discussing in that meeting, I said that what other alternatives do they have? And it just came up, we discussed and we said that, hey, let's open it up for free, right? Because we need to break Google Form and we need to break Facebook, right? In this particular audience. So it worked well, right? But that was primarily that gut feel, okay, as to how do we move forward, correct? Now, another gut was that as soon as we went into COVID, okay, we sort of we got a email from and as soon as the COVID hit, right, the lockdown or so, right, all the summer placements were, let's say, derailed, correct? But the colleges were not derailing their session opening, okay? And all the companies were, and at that point in time, we were dealing with about 4 to 5 companies per se, right? We got a response from 2 of them stating that, Ankit, when we talk to the IMs or so, right, they are not talking to us and not giving us right answers. Can you become our common partner? You have colleges on you, you have companies on you, right? Can you club both of them and be, let's say, the guy who basically talks about to, let's say, the IMs that, hey, companies are facing this problem, please be open to pushing across, right? Now we sent an email, and I sent an email personally, and that was my gut that, hey, let's try this out. And trust me, I didn't have any financial motive because we were not charging companies, we were not charging colleges for this exercise. One email I sent out to all the directors and place commerce of all the IIMs asking them that, hey, we have so companies with us, right? They are requesting you if you can push across your joining or so, right? Placecom being Placecom, it wasn't seen in a positive direction. Okay, and this is 2020 April or so. So they basically insisted. I won't take the name of the college as such. They made a call to couple of companies and say that would Dare to Compete be negotiating everything on your behalf, even the placement slots or so, right? And they said no. And they said no, they're just working alongside, but we have given them that, yes, we are facing this problem, if something can be worked out. And imagine and that was where everybody wanted to recruit from IIMs or so. And we didn't think it through, very frankly, right? I didn't think it through. I saw that, yaar, kuch na kuch ho jayega. Let's try this out, correct? Then we got a call from the Placecom's head, chairman, emails or so. Nasty as well to me, that how can you be the de facto choice for the companies or so? They are saying that they are not with you. How can you send emails out? We can take action and all of that, right? All of that happened, right? So eventually we told them that there is no financial objective or so. We thought that, hey, we can be a licensing hand between the corporate and they said that, no, we don't need it. So they basically, I think, I didn't think through, but now when I do, so eventually they didn't want a common party to maybe represent the companies. I think we were taken as, let's say, a sort of a union, correct, in terms of of that. And then we thought that, hey, probably you're taking into the wrong direction. We'll step back. We won't sort of pump in as such. You're free to talk to the companies directly if the companies themselves are happy to talk to you also. But eventually that was one gut that didn't go really well for me and Dare to Compete personally. But eventually it didn't go well only because we didn't see it through, right? And you cannot see it through all your decisions also, but you should not shy away from making those decisions. So till date, I'm happy I did it, right? Whatever back and forth or backlash it did, right? At least colleges realize that Dare to Compete can play a role. Companies realize that Dare to Compete don't shy away from doing anything, right? But eventually colleges, after about 6 to 7 months, realize that, hey, we are not what they are thinking through. Correct? Because eventually companies have also started using Dare to Compete as their technology partner for summer placements or so. So Marico, TCPL, I'm not sure in your colleges, but the application, the GDs, everything happened on Dare to Compete for them as well. Yeah, so I mean that's about it. These were the two examples, one that worked, one that didn't. And yeah.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your insights.
So next we have two questions on the chat. First one is from Shikha. She says, how much importance would you give to making business plans?
So I mean, I'll sort of go a level further, right? How much importance do you give to not only making business plans, but to collect all the information that you can for your business and make meaningful insights from that information. Okay. So I say in a couple of my talks, my biggest fear is I don't know what I don't know, right? And that is my biggest fear. If I know everything, I'll be able to make prudent choices all along. Correct. So yes, you need to make business plans, or you need to ensure that you are able to get as much information as possible on the paths that you're currently going. And when you get that information in your capacity, right, you need to drive as much insights as you can. Okay. Which is true for business plans as well. Business plan is nothing, right? But collecting information, making insights, and putting them in the right format. That's what the business plan is, right? Now, if you see the bigger entrepreneurs who have created multiple business plans, they don't need a document called a business plan to say yes or no to an idea, right? They basically say yes or no instantly. So in Shark Tank as well, they don't need a business plan per se to make an investment, right? At a 10-minute discussion, they sort of ask you questions to gather more information, create insights, and give you offers. It's primarily simple, right? So I do give much more importance to collecting information, making insights as much as possible.
Thank you, sir. The next one is from Aslam. What he says is how to overcome financial drawbacks in startup. What strategies to be adopted?
I mean, I'm not 100% sure. What do you mean by financial drawbacks? I'm assuming that if the startups don't have funds, if that's true. Aslam? Is he there? Okay. So anyways, I'll just assume that, yeah, he says yes. So essentially when I say financial drawbacks, no funds to sort of execute. I think that also decides in terms of what kind of a startup or the idea that you're running, right? Whether you need funds to run that idea. If you need funds, how do you get those funds, right? So the first and foremost is, again, very simple things, right? In terms of lower your cost, increase your margins and all of that. I'm not getting into those because that's normal business. How generally I handle is, you need to think through as to where you require all the funds. So let's say if you require 1 CR, correct? First of all, and if this 1 CR is divided into 5 parameters or 5 areas, right? I personally think that you need to first prioritize those 5 areas and start with your first priority, which might be 20 lakhs. So earlier you were thinking of 1 CR, that hey, without 1 CR, you won't be able to move forward, right? If you break down that problem to 5 different areas, each needing only 20 lakhs, correct? Then, and when you prioritize, now your job is to get those 20 lakhs and not 1 CR. And that's how, and that raising 20 lakhs is much easier than raising 1 CR. And many a times in the startup field, people only need 1 CR. Yeah, मैं fundraise करूँगा तो 1 CR का करूँगा. I think that's not how it works. You need to prioritize because you may get more investors for 20 lakhs rather than 1 CR. Plus, when you invest in those 20 lakhs, if they are directly linked to your revenue might start flowing in, which will give you working capital maybe for the second item, which is another 20 lakhs. So you may not need 1 CR eventually. You might be okay doing 60 lakhs or so. I think that's, I mean, I'm just giving you those examples because that worked for us. Your idea might be completely different. You may have a retail idea which needs stocking, which needs a lot of funds or so. But I think you need to sort of break down your fund requirements and then go to the VCs and the other bankers or so. Lower funds are easier to raise, bigger funds will take much more time to raise. And that's why nowadays, if you see, there is a pre-seed round, seed round, pre-series A, series A. Earlier, there used to be a seed round and series A, only because of the fund requirements or so. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. We have another one from Devakar. What he says is, what is the most important aspect to start a company? Is it the timing, funding, need of the market, or something else?
I mean, the first and the foremost thing is that you should be ready to start it. That's the first thing, right? Because many a times you think through an idea, you have an idea for ages before you jump onto that idea, and then you start jumping in. Then you are looking at timing the market when to jump. Okay, very frankly, nobody can time the market, right? It is not only in starting the business, it is also in making your investments, correct? If you see all bigger guys, right, who have made crores, none of them have been able to time our stock markets. And that's why I say you cannot time your entrepreneurial venture or your idea, right? Whenever you're ready, just jump in, correct? The idea, I mean, this is linked to the earlier aspect itself, right? What is the importance of creating a business plan, right? All your need of the market and all of that gets addressed in that business plan itself, right? What is the problem that you're solving? What is the solution? Whether it is needed or not, right? If it is needed, it is needed, right? Whether today, tomorrow, day after, it doesn't matter, right? And you won't be able to time it, or you won't be able to I mean, depend on, let's say, some other guys. So let's say, I mean, I take credit. The startup ecosystem has boosted in India only because of Jio, right? Ambani. It's just one man who has boosted the startup ecosystem, right? Because Jio came and drastically reduced our internet rates, because of which smartphones increased and all e-commerce, everything jumped in, right? So you won't be able to time it, right? I mean, the way things are moving forward, the whole ecosystem is changing in every 3 to 4 years. So I would say the sooner you're ready, the better it is for you. The sooner you start, the better it is for you. Don't look at any timing as such. Yeah.
Sure, so I think we have one more question from Shubhendu. So what he says is he has a dream of starting a business, but he do not have the money or the fund. So how to deal with it?
In today's market, very frankly, to get money, it's very simple. And if you are from XLRI, it will be much more simpler, right? So, I mean, that should not be a stopper for you, right? If you need money, if you have a business plan, raise a pre-series A round, maybe only for 1 crore or 2 crores from angels or so. Your idea needs to be very, very good. That's all the people would need. Your background is good. If the team is good, you'll be able to get the funding. Raising a fund in this market is not that difficult. We haven't raised it. I mean, we have been bootstrapped until now. We are looking at raising now. In fact, that we started that exercise just last week itself as I speak. So hopefully time will tell. But I think raising funds, getting money in this kind of a market with your guys' background or so, I don't think that that's a problem. So don't have that in your mind that it will become a big problem as such. Yeah, money. I mean, I can assure you, in today's market, to run a business, money won't be a problem. Your attitude might be a problem. The business might be a problem. The problem might be a problem. The solution might be a problem. But money is the only thing which will not be a problem for you to run the business if you're good at it.
Thank you so much, sir. So we can see questions pouring in. I'll have one more question in the interest of time. Knowing what you, sorry, so this question is from Nilesh. He says, knowing what you know now, is there anything you would have done differently when you were first starting out?
So my first, so I can't say my startup, right? But just after my engineering, I was working with Sapient, which is in Boston headquartered IT consulting firm. I spent about 2 years there. I was into movies, okay? Load of movies. I mean, I'm that kind of a guy who would go Friday evening or Saturday morning to the movie hall, 70 take a popcorn and then Pepsi and enjoy the movie, okay? And this is I think 2008, 2009 or so. So 2 of my friends and I started creating a platform where we wanted to book movie tickets, and Book My Show wasn't there at that point in time, right? Because we wanted to select seats. The only reason I wanted to create that platform only because I wanted a middle seat higher up so that I can enjoy the movie, okay? 1 month into that platform, Book My Show got launched. Okay, and the other 2 members that I was working with, they said, Ankit, now we won't do this because Book My Show has been launched. Somebody has already taken that idea. Okay, now there were 2 things that actually didn't work well and we didn't pursue that idea. One, none of us, including me, saw the potential, right? If the other businesses also launched, correct, that means that there is some merit in this idea itself. None of us saw that coming. Okay, we saw opportunity being snatched from us. Okay, that there can only be a one winner. But take up any industry, there are always 2 or 3 guys who are competing, right? Effectively, we were not business guys. We didn't even think through, right? So that was one mistake, which I still want to correct. The second was that personally, I was not courageous or mature enough to go solo. Okay, I was dependent on those 2 guys to create a platform, right? Dare to Compete is now solo, right? I'm the only founder, no co-founders per se, correct? So if I had to correct this, I will go back just after my engineering. I will still pursue that idea, and maybe I might be bigger than Book My Show. Book My Show is still in India. I might have been the #1 player in the whole world to book movie tickets. So that's what I would want to change.
Okay, sir, can you have one more question?
Sure. I think 11:30, right? Yeah. So another 5-6 minutes or so. Yeah. Go
Sure,
on.
sir. So okay, then I'll go ahead with another question from
couple of
Rahul.
questions. Yeah.
Yes. So what he says is, from the interaction so far, I'm amazed about your approach in making decision. I have a question that how to minimize or nullify gray areas while making a decision in selecting future strategies or potential partner at crucial time. And as you are giving more importance to skills, so should I conclude that the potential startup idea should be kept in back of the mind till I have all the skills, or should I initiate with partial skills?
No, I mean, initiate as soon as possible, whether you have the skills or not. It's as simple, right? You will develop your skills during your whole process of entrepreneurship or your managerial, right? Nobody has all the skills at the start. Nobody, right? Take whoever entrepreneur or whoever manager, right? Nobody has the right skills when they start off, right? So the second part is that don't be dependent on your skills. Just go ahead and start it, right? You should be okay learning skills faster than anybody in the world. Okay, that's how I will put it. In your first decision, in terms of the gray areas while making decisions, my only thing will be that just be rational and open that they will always be gray areas. Some of them will always be gray. In your mind, you need to decide that, hey, I've taken this call, so for me it becomes black now. Okay, but for others it might be a sort of a gray area. But as you get your gut nicely laid out, you have more information, you have more insights, those gray areas will minimize. It won't nullify anyhow. If you think the gray areas are nullifying, that means you're not moving fast. So they will always be gray areas, but your only insights and information will ensure that you're minimizing your gray areas. And never ever think about attaining 100% of everything. You cannot, and you should not, and you won't. As a manager, you just need to move forward with whatever you have. Don't wait for that 100% achievement. You cannot be a topper every time across all subjects, across all streams or so. If there is, I would like to meet that guy, but you cannot be a topper in all subjects, all semesters, and you will achieve a golden ticket.
Thank you, sir. Next question is from Gaurav. He says, how do you assemble a right team for a startup?
That's a, I mean, there is no right answer to this, very frankly. I mean, it's an hit and trial. इसमें आप जय माता दी फेल भी कर सकते हो, very frankly, but there is no right answer to this. The only couple of aspects that you can look at in your candidate. So in a startup, the founding team is very, very critical, right? Unless you know people whom you have worked with, right? I basically look for whether I can trust this person or not, right? Again, I cannot be 100% right because I've not worked with that person, right? And during my interviews, I may ask certain questions which may give me confidence that, hey, I'll be able to trust this person, right? Or when I start working with that person, only then I will realize whether that I can trust this person or not, which is a 3 to 6 months time, right? The second is I check for agility, right? Whether this person is agile enough or not to ensure that during that whole startup phase, right, he can learn new skills. He is adaptable. And the third thing that I check in the founding team is I don't need a master of one skill, right? I basically need a jack of all trades. So I basically see that whether this person is a multitasker, whether this person can actually handle multiple things at the same point in time, whether this person can manage multiple things, right? Whether technology, marketing or so, because when you start, right, you also need to, you're a marketer, you're a technology enthusiast, you are an operations guy, you are a finance guy, right? You need to handle all of these. And that's true for the founding team as well. So there is no right answer to that, but I think these traits need to be identified apart from your technical skills to hire the right person. And you may fail in few of the interviews because you yourself would be taking those interviews for the first time. Okay, so you will also be much more skiller in identifying the right person only once you have taken 10 or 15 interviews, and once you have worked with those guys who have been your mistakes in hiring. Yeah.
Sure, sir. I think we do not have any more questions. Okay. So,
awesome.
Moving ahead with the vote of thanks. Thank you so much, Ankit sir, for a very candid and simple ideas to understand. I'm sure the next time any one of us think of a startup, we will surely recall these pillars of entrepreneurial mindset. And on the behalf of this audience of XLRI XPGDM batch, I thank you so very much for your time and these great insights. Have a great day, sir.
Thank you so much. And just to correct, don't only think about this when you're starting up. Whatever you do, maybe as a manager, think about these entrepreneurs. Yeah. See you.
Absolutely.
Bye. Have a
Thank
nice
you.
day. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
So we'll resume the next session by 11:30. We'll hand it over to Bhavya and Varun. Thank you.
Academic concepts with industry application.
Two dimensions that I would talk about: sustainability of our leadership, our journey in our leadership, sustainability of our careers is dependent on ethics and how we live a high ethics, high integrity life. Back in the days, before any of the other institutes started doing it, we had business ethics as a compulsory course. For me, that consonance of my own ethical framework with the institute and now my own ethical framework with my company, that served me immensely. So today when I stand and talk about ethics, it comes from this core of me. And Excel helped frame this and helped give it shape even before I knew what this was all about. And now it's who I am. It's the core of who I am.
Gave me confidence, Excel gave me purpose, and Excel gave me a lot of confidence to try different things. That's a huge set of experiences I had. And that stood me in good stead because I went to become a management trainee in Hindustan Lever, where I could never have been without the Excel ticket, and without having excelled in Excel, I wouldn't have made it to HUL. And I've been with Unilever all 25 years of my career, so clearly the move from Excel to HUL was great for me. I really think that Excel has grown from strength to strength. It's maintained its reputation. There are a number of students who continue to excel year after year and have created a community of very successful professionals in India.
I've gone on to sell disposable
Okay, so we'll start. Good morning, everyone. I am Varun Kumar, your host for the session, and with me, I have Bhavya Yadav as your co-host. So in this session, we have the honor of hosting Mr. Sri Hari Shikakalu, who is the CEO of eRemit Singapore, a fintech based out of Singapore with focus on digital remittance and financial inclusion, with capabilities of money transfer across 13 countries. So prior to this, he was the managing director of CIMB Bank and the general manager of Hong Leong Bank. He has leadership experience across banking, financial services, insurance, and fintech industries, with over 20 years of experience in building franchise in country management and regional head roles, with proven credentials in building and turning around businesses across markets. Sir, during his 20-year successful career, has worked with multiple companies like Citibank, ABN AMRO, Mindsearch International, CIMB Bank, Hong Leong Bank, and Go Cashless Digital. So, sir, with immense pleasure, we would like to welcome you, and the stage is now all yours. Good morning,
Thank you. Thank you, Varun, Bhavya. Good morning and good afternoon to everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be part of this prestigious conclave, right? And also, I'm very happy because I'm an exceller too, so that makes me even happier. So the way how I would like to take this thing forward is probably my perspectives on entrepreneurship, and then I'll spend 5 to 10 minutes to share some of the slides so that it will provide an avenue for all of you to think through and ask questions, and then we can spend 15-20 minutes for the question and answers. So to me, with my experience, I think entrepreneurship is nothing but, whether be it in corporate or be it starting your own company, just identifying the problem, finding a better solution than existing one. It is as simple as that. And today, with the market or with the ecosystem evolving, right, most of the corporates are looking for people who has experience in entrepreneurship. It does not matter whether it's a failed entrepreneurship or successful, because it's a word. Failure and success are two words only. In the early stage of the career, everyone is looking for people who has built or managed or at least started off, right? Because being an entrepreneur, you will be able to get the entire experience, like what earlier Ankit has mentioned. It's not like if you join a marketing company, you will learn only marketing. But if you join a tech company, you will learn only coding programming. But being your own entrepreneurship or company, right, you will learn everything. Each and every skill is required. That is extremely valuable for any corporate to hire. So with that, probably I think what I will do is I will start sharing the screen in terms of some of the slides. I will not spend long. I'll spend just 5 to 10 minutes in terms of eRemit journey, and as well as what do we mean by entrepreneurship, as well as social impact to the society, right? See whether I'm able to. I'll take 2-3 minutes probably. I think see whether you are able to watch this video. No, not this one. Skip this ad. Yeah.
So we are not able to see your screen yet.
Are you able to?
We can see the PPT, but not the YouTube screen.
Oh,
sir, yeah, sir, you might need to share the full screen in that way. That will...
Okay, sure. Can you just see the screen?
Not yet.
No?
Not yet.
You can unshare and reshare your entire screen once.
Okay. Can you see?
No, sir.
Okay. No, I think it's fine. Okay, maybe I think that's okay. It's okay. Let me see whether I can share the PowerPoint then. So primarily what I wanted to share with you, these are the 4 videos in terms of what is the migrant population and what does remittance means for a person who is working across the globe. But I'm not sure whether we are somehow. Okay, so to brief statistics is about why across the globe, cross-border remittance space is so exciting. Is there are almost 200 million migrant workers, and the size of the market is 700 billion, and 80% of it is to the developing countries like India, China, or other countries, right? And 60% of their family household income is coming through remittance are the people who are living overseas. These majority of these workers belongs to either migrant workers, construction workers, or domestic helpers. And today the cost of sending money is almost 7% of it. If somebody is sending $1,000, $70 is being just sent as a cost. That is the reason why across the globe, the remittance industry is really very exciting. And EY estimates that roughly about $156 trillion of business is there, with an annual growth of 5 to 7%. And primarily, I think for this segment, the target segment is migrant labor, construction workers, expatriates, and small and medium enterprises, and overseas education segment. So the challenges, key challenges, what we see across these industries, high transfer cost, banks' unwillingness, because if suppose a domestic worker or migrant worker goes to a bank, no bank will be willing to open an account, and they don't have insurance coverage. If something happens to them, their families back home will not be able to get anything. And most of the people who moved out of India or from other countries will be from villages or corner of the villages. So there are no branches, and money receiving to them itself is a challenge, right? So this is like what earlier we discussed in terms of mobile penetration, internet, as well as Wi-Fi tech innovation, right? These are the one which has made customers in terms of what is expected and how fast one is looking for the services in delivery or even to be credited. So this has really transformed the entire fintech industry in terms of moving from the banks to mobiles. So this I just wanted to share in terms of Asia or Southeast Asia, which are the companies that are focusing in this industry. And earlier I mentioned the banks or the other industries, they are charging about 7%. With this tech evolution are solving the problem of sending money just via mobile, it has came down almost 0.5% to 1%, which is almost 6% cost saving to this segment. So what it means is, in a common man's language, is if somebody is sending $1,000 with these cost savings, which are derived by the evolution and technology, right? 1 month of rice can be brought to their own family. So I'll touch base on this thing later on, but briefly is before we start any company or any entity, most important thing is my suggestion is, or rather myself will put into the solution of this thing. I look at life cycle stages from birth till death kind of thing, each and every stage. What are my needs or what are customers' needs? Then focus on that. Are there existing problems currently and are we able to find a solution to those problems? Then do we have the ability, talent, or idea, or creativity, anything to solve that problem before we embark on the journey? I think these are the key things where you can find anywhere, but most important thing is $3 trillion global startup economy is there, which is exciting for anyone, and especially just fresh coming out from XLRI. That must be really exciting for you to embark on. So for fintech or startup ecosystem, I think it's no longer like a last time where just idea alone is sufficient, because together with idea, it's very important to have all these things. And it doesn't require millions of dollars or crores of money, because as long as you have an idea, I think getting funding these days is very easy. And just to put in perspective, if somebody wants to start a remittance company, you just require $1,000 or $2,000, because a lot of SaaS services, which are service-based solutions, are available, or cloud-based AWS solutions are available. So it became much easier compared with earlier days, where somebody need to start up, they need to find all the solutions. Today, as long as you have a great idea, all the relevant companies will come to you asking you, would you like to have our service? So I just wanted to give perspectives in terms of there are different kind of entrepreneurships or startups, where some are supported by VC, some are private PE-backed companies, are independently owned as well as public and banks. So the point I'm trying to say here is, funding wise, I think one should not think in current ecosystem. The most important thing is, are we really solving a problem? If yes, then funds will come automatically. So if you look at it, because I'm based out of Singapore, so I'm showing some of the things which are relevant to Singapore and ASEAN, but obviously some of the companies are supporting or working together with India and out of India as well. So yeah, these are some of the valuations in remittance space or the fintech space. A company which is 7-year-old, 8-year-old company became $11 billion, but it is not just valuation alone, but it is solving the problem, providing 133 countries in terms of remittance. So any corner of the world, if there is a worker is looking for money, they will be able to just get with 2 or 3 clicks on the mobile. They don't need to go to bank, or they don't need to go to anywhere. That's the power of fintech and the startup ecosystem. One is, I think, creating value, and they are creating opportunities for many people and solving a problem which has been existing since last many years, right? So fundamentally, the 6 key things what we think in any startup or fintech is your idea. Yeah, there may be a fancy terms and words, right? Agile, Scrum, digital, stand-up, all these things. To me, those are all nothing but your idea, and how do you discuss on the ideas together with your partners, your colleagues, nothing else. It is as simple as before starting, if the business is good or not, to validating. Then technology centric. And these days, if you are looking for technology, you need not be a tech expert. As long as you have an idea, you are able to articulate your idea very clearly to all the stakeholders or tech companies. They will come to you and they will build the platform for you the way how you want, and without you paying it, because Your idea is good, the funds will come automatically. And today's, based on my knowledge and experience in today, no one is building anything from scratch. You just need to leverage on the existing ecosystem, modify it, customize it, and then start. Okay, so I think that this is, okay, that's fine. So for e-remit perspective, right, what we did is most of the remittance companies, they will just do transferring of the money from one country to other country. What we figured out is 2-3 pain points where customers, basically the migrant workers, they will not be covered if something happens during off the work. So what it means is when they are working in a factory or when they are working in the home, they will be covered with insurance. But if they are on the road or went out for meals or went out for leisure entertainment kind of thing, something happens to them, their family will not get anything. And even to send their body back home also, people need to raise the funds. So we thought about it, and then commercially viable at the same time, if you are able to cover them during and off the work, it will make a significant difference. And that's what we did it. We are the first company to identify that problem and find a solution and launch it and make it seamless, simple, easier for customers to opt for it. Okay, so the idea is, earlier I mentioned in terms of human life cycle, as long as we identify a problem, you will be able to work together or embed with the entire ecosystem. Like, for example, you may be in fintech, and it doesn't mean that you need to work or one need to work only in the fintech. You can collaborate with edutech, you can collaborate with health tech, you can collaborate with any other company, right? It can be telco, it can be anything, because what is most important thing is there an existing problem? Your solution is able to offer better efficiencies, and then you have a huge customer base where you can tap on. Today, it can be e-commerce. And I'm sure, I think while you're learning in the MBA, you heard open banking, embedded finance, API integration, all those things. Those are all the sexy jargons only. Actually, in a simple term is, as long as there is one customer, you are able to offer the solutions in simple click, 1 or 2, 3 clicks, then that's it. Let's say, for example, you're buying something on the e-commerce portal. If you are able to offer a BNPL solution, that is embedded finance. That is nothing but API integration. That is nothing but open banking. So all your solutions or needs are met at the point of your mobile click. So to me, I think some of the most important skills are storytelling is extremely important. While I think there is a huge funding, the investors need to understand what problem are you solving, and do you have the ability or persistence or endurance to go through the journey? Because there are so many people, right, comes out with ideas, able to offer solutions, but are they able to go through the entire journey or not? So this is very important skill whenever you are pitching to any investors, because they have the expertise. They will understand in terms of, are you the guy that you will go through the journey? Second important thing is, these are all with my experience I'm sharing with you all. Second one is, how do you leverage your network? Today, it's no longer like, oh, I don't know this person, I don't know this person. You have LinkedIn. The power of LinkedIn is really immense. Build while you are in the second year or while you are before completing your second year, build the network. Think through in terms of which area, where you want to go. Identify top 10 or top 100 people who you want to connect with. And lots of people will be willing to share with you, willing to help you, even spend hours also. I do in my role currently also. Lots of people, they reach out to me, I share with them, I mentor them. For example, one guy, and today the youngsters, their power or their knowledge, their thinking is amazing. And I'm a person strongly believes experience not necessarily a positive sword, right? Is basically, in one way, I think experience is good. In other way, experience will limit your creative thinking. Because, for example, if somebody works for 15 years, 20 years, their mindset is tuned in a way to say that, okay, this is probably the only way that can be solved this problem. But if you are fresh from the college, without any baggage, without any limitation on thinking, you will be able to think differently, creatively. Maybe that's the best way are the best solution nobody were able to think through till now, right? So if you ask me on prioritization, one is in storytelling, endurance, network leverage, and entrepreneurial mindset, because any one individual wants to embark on the journey. It is not that easy, but it's very exciting. Whether you want to be you want to go into a corporate career or your own business, all these skills are extremely important. The remaining things, I think you understand, and anywhere you can read it. But authenticity is another important attribute. What I feel is lots of PAs, lots of accomplished people, lots of we see guys are looking for authenticity. Whether are you a person trustworthy? Are you a person where I can put in my money? Are you a person you are going to solve the problem or build a business or add value or contribution to the society, right? Yeah, so, okay, now, yes. So that's all I wanted to share in terms of the slides. The reason I wanted to share the slides is to give you perspectives in terms of what we are doing it, what are my thoughts. I think I'll take 1 or 2 minutes to give you. Around 2008, I was working with Citigroup or Citibank. Together with one of my friends, we started a company called as MindSearch International. So that's at that time is focusing on the consulting as well as executive search. So we worked on that company for 1 year, and the thinking process, what we have is there are many companies extremely successful in that space, and then the talent growth is across the globe is really mind-boggling. So we ventured, we did for 1 year. The growth was good, but 2008, there was a crisis, financial crisis, global financial crisis, and most of the organizations stopped hiring or giving consulting projects. So we make a call and we exited the company. So in my view, I think when to exit, when to start, there is no specific time at all. As long as you're confident, you're very clear in terms of the idea, what you have and what problem it solves, you should jump in. But again, when you are just fresh from the college versus when you are in the middle of the career or middle phase of the life, then commitments will be different. So one should be well prepared in terms of going through that rough and rugged journey, because together with you, your family will be there. A person who is 25 years old versus a person at 45 years old, I think there is no what you call it as age limitation that you must be 40, you must be 50, you can't do it. But the challenges will be different. So together with you, your partner, your spouse, your family, all must be willing to go through that journey. It's not an individual journey alone. So that's all. So I'm happy to take the 20-25 minutes to questions, anything.
Thank you, Sri Hari, for the wonderful session. Guys, you can raise your hand for if you have any question. We have Vivek. Vivek, you can go ahead with your question.
Hi, Srihari. Am I audible?
Yes, Vivek.
Yeah, hi. Great presentation. Really nice product. I really enjoyed listening to you. We do similar thing here in India. So let me give me a brief introduction about myself. I am Vivek Kumar, GMP 1516 batch. So 2016, I passed out from XLRI, and currently I'm working with a company called Bharat Financial Inclusion Limited, where we developed a product called Bharat Money Store. So we do similar kind of services, remittance services, approximately 600 to 800 crore of remittance within India. And our presence is basically in rural India. We have, so we do it through Kirana store merchants. So approximately 95,000 Kirana stores that we have currently, through which we do this remittance services. So as you said, internationally, it's a very big problem. People like you are solving that problem. That's great. So one challenge that we face in our current product or system is we call it huge money transfer, and in banking terms like a money laundering. So my question to you was like how you address that issue internationally, because the person who is transferring the money or getting the money, they don't know from where the money is coming from until there's a system check. That's my question to you is. And apart from that, have you ever thought of, second question, this is my second question, the P2P product means where these kind of modules is not required and just a person, sender and the receiver, between them only transaction can happen, that P2P module. That's my two questions to you.
No, thank you, Vivek. I think question one, today in these markets, let's say, for example, if you look at ASEAN, right? Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, or Vietnam, you have what you call it as like our Aadhaar kind of ID, where before onboarding any customer, you will be able to fully onboard via digital KYC. So with the digital KYC, you are able to track the person who is sending the money.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you track and the funds, because for us, we are fully digital. So we are not collecting the cash at the counters. So as long as it is fully digital, the source of funds will be completely from bank. And any funds that are in the bank will be also authenticated and KYC checked to say that it's not laundering funds. So at the onset or opening of the account itself, we do that checks. So that will take care in terms of sending.
So, sorry to ask you the relevant question related to that. Usually the bank, which is related to the account of the sender or the receiver, they usually flag these kind of issues. So I'm sure you are not partnered with any bank who is, those are raising these issues to you, or that dependency you already left it to the sender or the receiver?
No, so because like what you asked, right? AML is a big issue across the globe. So we don't depend on any other individual entity. We will have our own KYC. So any customer who wants to be onboarded has to go through the entire KYC process, which will be 100% digital, which will be a central government authenticated Aadhaar ID, and together with their biometric identification. So these two combined together, third check will be transferring money directly from the bank account. Okay. So whenever the money comes from the bank account, prior to that, bank also will be doing a check.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
We have Narendra Jain. You can go ahead.
Hi, sir. This is Narendra Jain. My question is again same. Just I want to know for remittance sector, like in banking sector, whenever we are sending money to like other country, might be Dubai, Singapore. So how you cross verify ordering customer or beneficiary customer? It should be like how you verify actually. Okay. Sometimes like anything is what we call not KYC done or something fraud they have done. So how you cross verify in terms of ordering and beneficiary both that way?
So there are two, right? Sender and receiver. Sender, before you send the money, you will do authentication through the government approved or central bank approved IDs.
Okay.
Which can be, in India's case, can be Aadhaar card and together with a sync pass or PIN, CPF, in India is PF PIN or something like that. That is from sender, and the funds will be directly collected from the bank.
Okay.
So that will take care of the sender aspect of KYC check or prudency on the AML and transaction monitoring. Then recipient side, it will be crediting into the bank account or crediting via or collection via the distribution outlets. And for collection at the distribution outlets, they again has to show a proof or ID proof in terms of, it can be anything, Aadhaar card or NRIC or driving license or anything. As long as they're able to show that, and the distribution outlet has to authenticate it that yes, it is a genuine. But that is one way of validating the recipient side. But in between, the transactions will be monitored with the AML transaction monitoring system, because as long as the size or the ticket volume is abnormal or beyond the scope, let's say if a migrant worker, typically they will send $500 to $1,000. And if it becomes 2,000, the transaction monitoring system will pick up and then we'll do additional due diligence.
Okay. Thanks.
Sridhar, you can go ahead with your question.
Hi, morning, sir. Sri here, sir. I am the founder and CEO of Thampe Private Limited. It's a fintech startup. Would like to know your feedback on what are the pros and cons of outsourcing a product development while we focus on business strategy and marketing.
I'm a strong supporter of outsourcing the product development. And I would say, I think maybe if it is possible, take something which is existing off the shelf.
Okay, great.
While you are growing the customer base, then once you reach certain sizable customer base, then you customize the solution to your own needs.
Thank you. So thanks so much.
There's a question in the chat by Vishal. He's asking, what role does blockchain and cryptocurrency have on remittance industry?
So blockchain, actually, I think there's a huge opportunity where to reduce the cost of transfer. Even, for example, today, the cost of transfer using the traditional channels is roughly about, to India is the cheapest actually across the world. To India, it's only 1% compared with 5-6% of global remittance cost of transfer. With blockchain, the estimations are it can further reduce it because you don't need to physically, those who are in the remittance space, I think it is still following through a physical money crediting into the bank accounts and then settlement. But with blockchain, organization don't need to do that kind of settlement. But the challenge is the blockchain till now, except a company called Ripple, there is no other existing proven solution in the blockchain. Because one of the problem is whether are you able to trace back who is the sender is a challenge. That's based on what I know. A lot of companies, a lot of fintechs, a lot of startups are at a phase where they are exploring the solution using blockchain, but none to my knowledge except one company, which is Ripple.
Thank you, sir. Vivek, you can go ahead with your question. Vivek, you are on mute.
Sorry, I said I already asked my question. Thank you.
Okay, I thought that there's another question. Vikram, you can go ahead with your question.
Thank you, Bhavya. Good morning, sir. So my question to you would be that, so when we are starting a fintech startup, so how do you finalize on which technology to base it on, be it the platform or the technology that is being used? As you've already spoken about, even the different methodologies, be it Agile, Scrum, and said ideas all important. So how important is the technology in this scenario?
I think to me, the idea is extremely important. See, Agile, Scrum, all those things are processes. It's not idea actually. The idea is to solve the problem, right? So as long as we are very clear in terms of what problem we are solving and what's our idea, then you can take multiple options in terms of what technology. But whichever technology we adopt, right, it has to be simple and seamless, and if possible, to take which is on a SaaS model. Because in today's situation, none to my knowledge is building technology by their own, because startups per se, they don't have enough funds. When they don't have enough funds, what is the most important thing is how best we can make use of the funds, whatever we have. So if somebody is providing, a simple example like I shared is remittance company. To build a platform or rails or corridors kind of thing, it may require 50 million or 100 million, for example. Instead of that, if an existing company is able to provide a SaaS at, let's say, $10,000, that's the best, right? So my suggestion would be, or my approach will be to take that approach.
Yes, sir. Sure, sir. Thank you.
Bhavya, can I come in?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just like to clarify about the money laundering issues. I was just hearing. So there are two frameworks on the issue of the money laundering. One is called the Financial Action Task Force, where the people who are actually, what you can say, the administering the Anti-Money Laundering Act, they are the part of that financial action task force. In the case of India, it's the financial intelligence unit. So mutually they agree up to what amount, which type of transactions has to go through for the flagging, so that things can be verified. The second framework is the central bank issues. Like central bank of each countries, they have the common platform and they agree on the mutual protocol on which type of transaction needs to be flagged. So it is a very clear-cut guidelines. So it's not a question of KYC is one issue that KYC has to happen. Many times all the banks have a KYC, but still money laundering happens. Say, for example, in the India, you have a CTR, cash transaction report. If you any account, 10 lakhs rupees has been deposited in a year, that gets flagged. So that will be investigated by the financial intelligence unit from where the money source has come. There are other automatic truth also where there is no question is asked, which is called the liberalized remittance scheme. For that purpose, there are certain specific purpose for which you can send the money. So if the enough protocol is available, so that money laundering doesn't happen. And each country is participating in this common protocol. And ASEAN countries, we have certain more number of, even ASEAN, even Dubai, we have little more number of protocols because a lot of remittances happen in this case. And my knowledge, money laundering doesn't happen in rapid scale in from these type of countries. Rather, it happens from the European countries like Swiss, Switzerland, or the
African
tax haven islands. They are the main culprit. So there, the strict protocols are there, and the revenue intelligence units, they take care of that. So I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Thank you, Mandir sir, for such insights. Swagata, you can go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for taking your time out on a Sunday and doing this session. So yesterday I was part of this case competition and I was asked this question. I did not have a clear answer for it. That even PSBs like SBI and others are struggling to improve technology penetration in tier 3 cities and rural areas of this country. So how can fintechs maybe take up on this challenge or mitigate this problem? Because the next set of customers are always going to be these people.
So my thoughts are twofold, right? One is, I think big PSUs or big banks or global banks, they have their own limitations, right? One, I think distribution points, they do have it. But in terms of revenue opportunity or priority, those come in first, right? That's one. Second thing is the cost of serving fintech will eliminate significantly. Hence, they will be able to partner and leverage on the existing distribution ecosystem, not necessarily banking, right? It can be telco or it can be as long as like grocery store. For example, in Philippines, there are 95,000. I'm sure in India also we have the same thing, right? All the grocery stores can be acted as a distribution outlet or prepaid card, whichever, right? As long as there is a store, when someone can go and validate the authentication and collect the money, then they'll be able to do it. But probably given the cost of operation and the scale of big banks or PSU banks, they will not be able to afford it. So we are seeing the same thing even in these markets also, in Singapore or even Philippines, Indonesia also. They will not be able to do so, and only the second tier or third tier banks or the fintech companies are able to do so because their cost of operation is much lesser. Their legacy systems, they don't have legacy systems at the baggage, right?
True. And also, sir, another thing you highlighted regarding blockchain, with the current norms, like even global norms, not only India, they are quite limiting for companies to grow. So how does, firstly, how does a person in your position find the motivation to take up on these kind of projects? Secondly, the technical side of it, like circumventing these laws, these regulations, isn't it tedious and simply putting a stop on your company, trying to slow it down?
One I think most important point here is, right, as long as you are in the fintech industry across the region, I think regulators or even central governments are very, very supportive, right? Because if you are in the fintech space, there are certain provisions where you are able to put efforts, and the funding support is also there. So like earlier we heard, I think from government, they are supporting in Singapore. If you look at it, which is the Monetary Authority of Singapore, they have funds. So if this creative solution is able to solve the problem, then I think definitely people will put into effort, and they are doing it.
Right, sir. Thank you.
There's a question in chat by Siddhartha. For foreign remittance, in the current context, Russian banks have been barred from the SWIFT system. In such scenarios, are there any other alternative remittance options? How the international banking regulatory norms may be amended so that common people are benefit?
Officially, okay, to my knowledge, there is no other way to remit the money. But obviously offline, I think there are many ways that where one will be able to receive it. Even today, for example, no matter how much we say, how much technology involved, the hundi system, even from the developed economies to India, it is still existing it. So as we speak, the lower income of customers who are not financially that much literate, they will still go to their contacts kind of thing. They will take a simple slip on the paper, and this number will be given to their home country people, and then money will be disbursed. So we are seeing that actually.
With your permission, can we share the videos that you wanted to share?
Sure, please.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'll share my screen. Just let me know if it is visible now.
Yes, it is visible.
Smita, ready? I'm feeling terrible.
Everything settled. Doctor says delivery should happen soon. So don't be sad, Lani. I mean, what can you do if your borders are not open, right?
I cannot believe I'm not there with Nora when she's giving birth to my first child.
Adi, 1 minute. Doctor is here.
What happened? Hello? Hello?
Adi, doctor said there is a problem.
Huh? What happened to Nora?
Nora's water broke and they have to do C-section urgently.
Tell the doctor to start immediately.
Adi, but it will be double the cost. We don't have money. Adi, are you there?
Hold on. I sent the money already. Please tell the doctor to start immediately.
Depends, Lani. I'll call you back.
eRemit Singapore, connecting families and loved ones across the causeway and 13 countries with reliable money transfers.
So here's the second one.
My name is Nicole. I am from a small town called Bohol in the
दोस्तों
Philippines.
स्टडी आईक्यू के द्वारा फाइनली लॉन्च कर दिया गया स्टॉक मार्केट पर जो बेसिक कोर्स
Singapore 3 years back when my husband ran away after 1 year of our marriage. My sister and brother-in-law died in an accident the same year. My parents still live there, in a small rented house. My dream is to buy them a small home to spend their old age. I am working hard here to save money. See, my mom gave me $3,000 and said, "This is from my side to buy the house for your parents." I am blessed. Today I am sending the money to the agent to book the house. Unfortunately, I can't go there to see my parents' reaction when they see the new house. So it will be a small house. I'm sure they will be happy. My mom will surely cry. Maybe my father too. Seeing them happy makes me happy.
EdMit Singapore, connecting families and loved ones across the causeway and 13 countries with reliable money transfers.
So we are now moving to the third video.
Yeah, let's not wait. Living. You sure you don't need money?
Hola. This month's salary, I can get second-hand phone what?
Sure?
Yeah lah. I'll get a phone today. Finally. See my the DCs on video.
Yeah, or you can throw your broken phone lah. I buy laksa from the uncle shop can?
Can. That's roommate like you. Okay, yeah, bye. Bye, chef.
EdMit Singapore, connecting families and loved ones across the causeway and 13 countries with reliable money transfers.
And this is the last one.
You come anytime now. Yala, opening cake, huh? Wow, cake. When did you guys get this, huh? Hey, come, hungry already. Bablu. Amma.
Bablu.
Ma. Amma, enachu?
Appa hospital irukkaanga. Moochu kadala. Kaasu udane kattu nokkuraanga.
Amma, don't worry, okay? I'm here. Just give me 2 minutes and I'll arrange. Don't cry, okay? I'll call you back. Appa's in the hospital. I need to send money. I don't have anything. I said what I have. Yeah, me too, Bablu. Just send home. Thanks, Ram. Don't worry. Amma, I just sent the money.
Okay, pa. I'll handle panikreen. You don't worry.
I'll call you later, Amma. Hey, what happened? Nothing. Your hospital bill, huh? No money. Don't worry, bro. EdMit has given me free salary protector insurance. You how? Wow. Come meet them. Go, Janam then. Bye.
EdMit Singapore, connecting families and loved ones across the causeway and 13 countries with reliable money transfers.
Such an informative and entertaining ads. So
Wonderful,
there's a
sir. Yeah. Okay. Do we have a question, or I had just one, if you allow me?
Please.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So yeah, so with respect to the ad, sir, and definitely you can talk what you can say what you wanted to say before in the start of the session. But with respect to the ad shown and the remittance industry, coupled with the recent changes in the global economy, basically the COVID-19 pandemic, we have seen that many people are now migrating back to their home countries, while previously they used to work outside. Now they are migrating back, which have taken a huge toll on the remittance industry as a whole, the banks and the other fintechs who are operating in that domain. So how do we see that these companies coping up with this challenge and coming up with maybe new sources of income, or maybe cutting their cost down in the coming future decade?
No, actually, Varun, I think you're right. An year before, the trend was what you mentioned. But if you look at last 6 months statistics by World Bank, the remittance volumes has in fact increased. They didn't decrease. And historically, the volumes that are being sent via non-formal routes are coming to the digital, because now people can't go just like that, what they used to do earlier. So they're familiar with digital money transfers, mobile way of doing via mobile. So in the last 6 months, if you look at, there's significant growth. And even with our company itself, last 2-3 years, we are seeing 30-40% growth. So that's the industry trend. And for us, the video is again, reinstating in terms of how do you connect with the customers or audience emotionally, not just commercially alone, in addition to putting the proposition commercial viable, but how do you create an impact socially, right, to their lives? That's what we mean by commercially creating viable solution together with social impact.
Sure. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the answer.
There's one question in the chat by Anant Raman. You spoke about how blockchain as a technology has the potential to rapidly disrupt how remittance happen currently at a fraction of the cost. However, as you mentioned, apart from Ripple, there are no other noted solution in this space. In your view, why hasn't it taken off big time yet, in spite of all of the shortcomings of SWIFT?
I think the cost of or the challenge of anti-money laundering, right? Because the fines, if you look at across the globe, even banking and financial institutions are being bombarded with fines significantly. So risk-taking ability and risk versus return evaluation, probably I think that's what I feel. Because even Ripple, for example, they launched it, but if you look at in US, there is a case being filed on them for some other reasons. But then that will put any other startups or fintechs who wants to move forward to take 2 steps back and think again, right? If something goes wrong, and it's a big crime, anti-money laundering is a big crime. So I think that could be one of the reasons.
Thank you. Shrishti, you can go ahead with your question.
Hello, sir. Good morning. I wanted to know what are the new features that are coming in future from eRemit side?
No, I think typical to most of the digital financial services company, this segment on migrant worker segment is huge and massive opportunity. See, today, most of the organizations across the globe, they're leveraging only, they're helping them only with this cross-border remittance. But their needs are different, right? They require financial assistance, they require lending so that their families can start up some businesses, and their coverage in their home country, host country, as well as for their family members. And then fourth is, if there is some solution that can help them to manage their wealth to an extent like what earlier was highlighted, to the pension, social pension. So these are the stream of services, but at this moment we are already into InsurTech, where we launched that services. And then we are currently working on microfinancing solutions. But the key, there are certain key risks and challenges in that, because compared with the high income segment, there are no proven underwriting scorecards for that segment, and losses. There's no proven data in terms of to see what's the loss rates for these segments if somebody lends it. And even banks are not really willing that much. There are limitations and caps in terms of how much banks will be giving to this segment.
Thank you, sir.
I guess there are no further questions. So I would like to give you a vote of thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. It's my pleasure to be part of it.
Thank you so much, sir. Yeah.
Hope it's informative and useful.
Yeah, it was very informative session. I've written like few lines also, so I would like to say. Thank you very much, sir, for such an enlightening and enriching session, and also amazing ads. You mentioned that being entrepreneur, you learn everything. You talked about remittance companies all across globe, about remittance companies, their target customer segment and challenges, fintech ecosystem, their valuation, and how eRemit Singapore is helping migrant workers through insurance schemes. And you emphasize about the ability of storytelling is an important skill, and also we need to leverage our networks through during our college days. And the most important thing is asking yourself, are we solving any problem? This is for the future and startup companies and also the leading startup companies. In the end, I would thank you for being here and giving so much of insights. Now I would hand over to Sarveshwar and Priyanka Paul to host our next session. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for joining. We'll start our next session at 12:30 p.m. Thank you.